Beyond. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Podcast Beyond episode. I forget what podcast episode this is because we are on the last night of E3. E3 is over. Last year we did a very long, drunken, stupid, loud E3 from the Figueroa Bar Hotel lobby, whatever. It was near a pool. It was incredibly loud. I don't remember most of it. We had 18 people on. Some people enjoyed that, and the rest who didn't stopped listening to the show, so good riddance. I'm Max Scoville. I'm joined by my usual podcast co-host, Zach Ryan.
Hello.
Alanah Pearce.
Hi.
Great.
Steve Butts.
Hello, Max.
The regular crew.
The normal.
Is that everybody?
Yeah.
That's everybody who's got a microphone. We've got 4 microphones here, like some really just bad party game. And, hey, E3's happening.
Yeah.
We're in an Airbnb.
Yeah.
Yawned.
That's pretty crazy.
Good one. Solid. This is really good.
All right, so I've been kind of glued to the IGN booth, and I haven't really. I played like Titanfall 2 for a second. Zach, you went and played like everything. You guys also
I don't know that I played everything.
You want to derail this real quick?
Just you
talk
guys
about Zelda for 20 minutes?
Well, yeah, no, I actually just right as we were getting ready to record, I realized that
talk about
I
Zelda?
didn't play any of the big PlayStation games.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so anyway, it was great. It was great having me on. See you guys later.
All right,
Well,
I mean, why don't we talk about the press conference first? That's a thing that happened, and it was amazing.
Yeah, the press conference was pretty cool.
I think that
we
was
were
one
pretty,
of the best press conferences we've seen in a
I think we were pretty unanimous in the idea that it was one of the best.
It's hard
E3
because
press
other people had
conferences,
leaks, which means that the impact of their announcements was hugely dulled, and that sucks. But it was also just no talking. It was just games.
Yeah.
Games.
That was surprising.
I love that.
It was also the only one that didn't feel like they were reading off a script. Like, it came off as really authentic and genuine. You know, they had this sort of really touching moment where they came out and they talked about sort of the tragedy, and then it was just content.
Yeah.
I was surprised there was no hardware announcement, right? I mean, they talked about PSVR, they mentioned the price, they mentioned the release date, and then it was just, here's a bunch of games, and I totally love that.
That was kind of weird. It felt almost like a waste of a venue, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, they had a bunch of people in that room, and then they were like, all right, well, a human being will come out and say some stuff, and then, well, we're just going to roll some clips, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, and they had that cool live orchestra. I mean, it just really added to like the awesomeness of the event.
Yeah. And Kojima walking out like with that music playing, and he was walking on his own like white carpet.
Oh, God.
Like, that was amazing.
Yeah. He borrowed that cool set from Billie Jean.
I love how he outpaced the lights as they were coming in, though, and I thought like, oh no, he's going to fall. And I was like, no wait, I'm an idiot.
Faster than light.
Right? Yeah,
he was just too excited to show that game.
Right.
Yeah.
Death Stranding. It's a pretty strange name.
Also, like
it's a stupid name.
Yeah, it's a really stupid name.
Yeah.
He wears those like Adidas like GSG German SWAT team man boots, and they're very stealthy. They're sneaking shoes.
What did he say? He was just like, "Hi everyone, I'm back," and like that was kind of it. Just mic drop and leave. Like that's all we needed, really. It's fine.
Well, I mean,
I feel like you kind of have to be gone for longer than
6 months,
9 months, 10 months to declare I'm back.
No, that was like less than 7 months.
You think so?
Yeah, remember that?
I was there in December, and he was getting ready to. That was when he was getting ready to leave.
They said he was like.
Yeah, that was 6 months ago.
Did he say he was going on like a hiatus or something?
Editor-in-chief.
Yeah. No, like I want to talk about this because like obviously like I love Metal Gear. You love Metal Gear.
I do love Metal Gear.
You like Metal Gear?
I like Metal Gear.
I don't like Metal Gear.
You don't like Metal Gear? Get that.
Yeah.
You're my boss. Never mind. What did you take of this? Like, what did you think of this? Because we saw Norman Reedus's butt cheeks.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of dead whales and like what's it called? Death
Stranding.
Death Stranding.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly an intriguing kickoff to that. Whatever it's going to be. Like, I have no idea what the game is. I have no idea what, like, I'm supposed to feel about it, except confused and slightly uncomfortable.
I think that's the intent. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, there's sort of the umbilical cord and the little bitty baby that Norman cradles, and, like, he's got the C-section scars.
All those weird black hands.
Norman Cradles is actually a different game.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize. But then there's all the beached whales, and they have these black tubes, like, leading into the ocean.
Did you see
no idea.
I think it was Polygon that asked him, they were like, so what's up with the significance of the whales? And he's like, well, you see, whales are very large, and they represent a challenge. It's just like,
that makes
if there was any doubt that Kojima is still Kojima, well, here we are.
You know, things that I think of when I look at whales, challenging is not high up on the list.
Yeah, they're
challenging to comprehend how big they are.
The largest thing that doesn't really try to kill anybody that's not stabbing it with small spears.
Right.
Yeah.
So the thing about that trailer, and Steve, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but I ran into a lot of people on the show floor that were saying that this was the highlight of their Sony's press conference, right? Like, oh my god, I couldn't believe that we saw this trailer. And my immediate question to them was, okay, so what's that game about?
Yeah.
Because it was a great tone piece, but it just gave you zero context
The
of
fact
what that
there
game
was
is.
the fetus, that we had Norman Reedus, and
You mean Reedus' fetus?
I just rapped. Thank you. And also the handprints, that made me think that it was a insane follow-up to PT.
Yeah,
That's
I guess
the
so.
impression that I get.
I guess just the idea of having him in the game at all lends to the idea
It's either
that
that
there's some
Kojima
sort of
just
connection there.
really likes Norman Reedus, or it's intentional symbolism.
That could be too.
Well, I mean, they clearly have a working relationship,
right?
Because Kojima rendered him nude on a beach.
Not only that, but
working relationship.
I mean, it would be really weird if that wasn't Norman Reedus. Kojima just was like, I had some old models laying around
some extra footage.
I mean, I had these CG files that I'm just going to roll into this trailer.
Right.
Please don't sue me.
I got a lot of naked renders of a lot of celebrities in my hard drive, so it's totally fine.
Just randomize it.
Fox engine, y'all.
Showing up on a beach with a bunch of dead animals isn't totally un-Silent Hill.
Yeah.
It could happen.
But it's interesting because we saw, Kojima's been saying pretty much since Metal Gear Solid 2 that he was done with Metal Gear Solid. And everyone loves Metal Gear Solid 3, which is weird because it's really trying hard not to be a Metal Gear game. Mm-hmm. It's a James Bond Rambo game. It's a massive leap in time, and he frames it in the context of the series, but it isn't a sequel to Metal Gear Solid 2 by any means.
It's like saying Revengeance is a
exactly.
It's totally different.
The dude's been wanting to make his own stuff in his own kind of context for ages now, and the Phantom Pain was announced not as a Metal Gear game. It was announced as a weird game about flaming space whales.
Right, it was just announced as the Phantom Pain, wasn't it?
And then he disguised himself as a mummy and talked to Jeff Keighley for a while.
Hashtag Kojima?
He's a strange man. Yeah. But clearly there are themes that he keeps exploring, whales being one of them, Norman Reedus apparently being another, and
just keeps exploring Norman Reedus.
And he was saying that he wants to.
Well, I think it's funny that you guys are making a big deal about that, but you think of film directors that like to work with actors in all of their films, they have this sort of stable of actors that they always go back to and bring them on. I don't see any difference in that in what he's doing here. Maybe he had such a nice experience working with Norman Reedus on whatever Silent Hills was going to be.
Yeah, I think I'm hoping for more
a bit of him that feels like he needs to fulfill that.
Also true. Yeah, what I'm hoping it is, and it's all just confirmation bias, is that Kojima is using the fact that he's using the same actor, Norman Reedus, outside of Konami as a stab at them. That's how I take that, and that's what I want it to be.
Yeah, and it's clear that Norman
narrative.
Reedus is into it as well, because he tweeted out that picture of Kojima drinking from the teacup.
Yeah.
And it wrote Konami tears on it. And it's it's clear that he's in on that as well.
Yeah.
Did you not see that, Max?
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
So Norman Reedus, I know he's I know people love him on
he's a
Walking Dead
man.
Yeah. He's just, I don't know. He's just he looks like a racist. And I mean, he plays. He hasn't Normus Redeemist himself to me yet. I haven't really seen him in a role that makes me love him. And I said the same thing about Channing Tatum.
I've only seen him in The Walking Dead, I think.
Yeah, I can't think of what else he's been in. I thought that Channing Tatum looked like a racist because he has small eyes.
You need to stop saying that people look like racist.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing to say. It's funny to look at somebody and be like, yo, that person over there, they look like a bigot. That's entirely how bigotry works.
Oh man.
But yeah, Norman Reedus. He plays a really. I don't watch Walking Dead, but initially he plays a really wretched dude. He plays a racist character, and then that's.
Does he not?
Callie, are you?
I thought that he was kind of a.
Wasn't.
Brothers of the Race. Okay. Hi, I'm Callie.
Hi, yeah. Well, Kallie Plagge here.
Beyond.
I actually do watch The Walking Dead. His brother's the racist, and he's actually very kind and very good with a crossbow, and a lot of.
What a weird.
Shut up.
Okay, he's very kind, and he's good with that thing that shoots.
A lot.
Zombies, man.
I aspire to be described in both those ways, so I have no problem.
I'd believe
with that.
it. A lot of Walking Dead fans who are attracted to men are really into him. He's their top #1 favorite on the Pinterest.
Well, clearly, because they haven't killed him yet and had him eaten in a pile of men that I know of.
They love him.
All those middle-aged ladies on the Pinterest.
So does he have a lot of Tumblrs dedicated to him?
Anyway, point being, I'm not a Norman Reedus fan, but if he's working with Kojima, I'm open to that being a thing. Like, I'm guessing by the time that Kojima walks somebody through Kojima Productions and he's like, all right, so I'm going to cover your face with small luminescent dots and then put you in a weird semicircle of DSLR cameras and then put you in a game where you're on maybe there's a flaming whale and maybe it just, I mean, he did that to Kiefer Sutherland. Kiefer Sutherland is just, I mean, he's explained what he's doing to this man, and this man has come back to work with him again, so that's cool. And Death Stranding, we have no idea what it is, but
yeah, you got to respect somebody whose creativity could actually be just a massive troll on everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yeah,
like that's very intriguing.
That's what the Phantom Pain was.
Yeah.
So when it was initially released, and I think we're so far away from this game. Like it's so far.
Oh, totally.
Out. Yeah.
It's years away.
That's the thing. It's like
I think the whole thing was a statement, and that's why I like Norman Reedus being there as an extra statement. And the context of that tweet was Norman Reedus specifically tweeted out Kojima holding a cup that says Konami Tears on it. I doubt he was the one who made the picture, but he still tweeted it.
I don't know. Norman Reedus might have Photoshop.
I don't know,
or
man.
Paint.
I don't think
Reedus
actors
is a
can
paint
use
guy?
computers. I've heard they're incapable.
He's very good with crossbows, though.
Yes.
We have established that. Yeah.
And ladies on Pinterest really like him.
And I want to be clear. I want to be clear. Not confirmed as a racist. I just want to be super clear about that.
Okay.
Can we,
so on that note, let's talk about all of the other like hundreds of games that are coming out of this. God of War. Zach, you're just like shoving your laptop at me with God of War. God of War, not 4, just God of War. This is a new game. This is wow. Like we've gotten in some. We've caught some flack from certain individuals who may or may not have been involved with the creation of the entire franchise of God of War on this particular podcast. Sony started the conference with don't say his name or he'll appear before us.
He's very nice to me.
It's like the Candyman.
Well, didn't you call him up?
I did. This is a very good story. It was like when I just started writing about games. One of my friends wrote an editorial about girlfriend mode, calling out Jaffe, and Jaffe just kept tweeting abuse at him, and I was a 19-year-old, and I was like, hey, I think you're kind of being a dick. This is not okay. We should... You don't seem like you're actually taking any of this feedback to heart, and basically I lectured him, and he was like, all right, call me then. Well, I will talk to you over the phone, and you can tell me what the problem with this is and how I'm not dealing with this well. So I was a 19-year-old girl, and I spoke to David Jaffe on the phone and lectured him, and he apologized.
Well done.
So ever since then,
the system works.
Yeah, it was. I was like shaking the entire time, but I was like, I strongly disagree with the term girlfriend mode, and that happened. And so ever since then, he's like been kind of chill with me on Twitter.
So the great news is Sony Santa Monica has totally introduced girlfriend mode to God of War. It's like fatherhood mode. Like they took the angriest, most like when I think of the word aggro, like the term aggro, like
that's
someone
Kratos.
who's in such a hurry to say something that describes being violent and aggressive that they like don't have, like they're just like they got to spout that out there. Oh hey, Greg, come here.
Hi.
Hey.
What's up?
Hey.
More people have joined the party.
Yeah, I'm talking about God of War. I'm waxing Max.
I'm glad that Marty actually walked in too, because I'm sure Marty has a lot to say about this.
The changing of the guard is happening.
Yeah.
Hey, Greg.
Drink first. Come on.
All right. Okay.
Marty, come talk about God of War.
This is how we're doing this. Greg Miller just walked in.
And Marty and
he's going to be on here in a second, but he's going to make a drink first.
Back to God of War. So like this almost seems like a soft reboot in that it's not, and we've established that by like finding out more information. But it's like it's not Kratos. It's him teaching his kid how to become a god, but at the same time avoid the wrath of being a god. Yeah. And this is like it's going to be a completely different game. The camera perspective is different, which to me makes it like almost entirely not God of War.
Yeah, it's closer to like Resident Evil 4 style.
The Last of Us is the vibe that I get from it.
I mean, better.
I think I tweeted out, I was like, it looks like Skyrim, but with combat that isn't, Skyrim's combat.
Yeah, well, I'd say I respect what the God of War series has done with combat. Like mechanically, I think it's a very interesting, very fun, engaging game.
And a lot of games have been inspired by it.
Yeah, but I don't care about it emotionally, right? Like in terms of narrative context or like investment of myself outside of like just the mechanical, visceral thrill of chopping up these figures from the Greek mythological pantheon. I couldn't care less, right?
Yeah.
Now this one is actually about something that I can relate to, like a father who like worries that, his own worst habits and like the worst things that he hates about himself, that he's had the leverage to sort of
He's terrified
be
of his kid
successful,
being the same.
that he's going to pass along to his son.
Yeah,
and, like,
that's awesome.
you don't get more human than that.
And I mean, you're a father. Does that have more of an influence on you being a dad?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's like immediately relevant. Like you think about these things. And even as just like somebody who cares about other people in this world, you worry about
empathy.
Your influence on them. And, if I'm angry and upset, do I create more anger in the world for other people?
Yeah.
Like, that's really cool. And then marry that with, like the mechanically awesome gameplay of God of War. I'm super into this. I'm excited about a God of War game for the very first time.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way.
Okay, you said it. Yeah, so I'm glad that, Steve said it first, so we can jump on that.
I kind of feel the same way. I played the first 2 games and kind of signed off of the franchise, and it wasn't really for me. It wasn't really Kratos was never a likable protagonist, and this
I don't think he was meant to be. Maybe?
Well, sure,
but now he is. I think.
And I think that this particular trailer, this reveal, there was a moment where he gets really angry with his son, and then he reins it in, and to me that was really impactful. That instantly made me kind of like, oh, okay, well, maybe now he's not a total piece of
There's a part in the behind closed doors thing that we saw that I'm not sure if it was also in the trailer, but they kill this deer. Yeah, he
chomps him right in half.
No, they kill this deer, and then Kratos goes to comfort his son and just like kind of hovers his hand over his back and then pulls it back.
I love that Kratos.
It's like he wanted to, but it's like
Kratos
and his awkward hover hand. But it's like he nearly comforts him, and then he's like, "No, that's too weak." And it's like that. Even that's a really good character moment. That's so.
I really respected the bravery of that, right? Because for him to give in and comfort his son, I think makes him a much less interesting character.
Yeah.
And like narratively, just in terms of like the emotional impact of it, like him deciding that that's not the right thing to do for this kid.
Well, it's like he is struggling with the idea of him being the literal God of War and also with being a dad. And I totally relate to that. Marty got a really good quote that was, we've told the story of the Hulk. Now we want to tell the story of Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
And I love that too.
Little known fact, Marty wrote the #1 preview on IGN.com during E3. The best preview of all time.
Marty Sliva,
ladies and gentlemen.
Preview.
I'm just
here to talk about this legendary preview. I bring you my friend, Marty Sliva.
That was a really mean thing to do. Hi, guys. How'd it go?
Great so far.
I'm sorry we were late. We were getting mixers, and I went in the wrong direction.
Yeah,
I made it right, and then I started going under. We started going under the overpass on the way to our hotel. I was like, "That's not the way."
You know what? Kratos wouldn't have done that.
We're actually talking about God of War right now.
What's really kind of incredible is that you've survived this long in your life.
It's shocking. I don't know how I made it 30 years.
You're like a cartoon mole of a person.
He depends.
Like bottles?
No, bottles,
what?
Man. Oh, damn it. That's
he depends on the
Sorry.
kindness of strangers.
Yeah, the
Blaise
milk of human
Dubois.
kindness.
Hey,
God of War was incredible.
I have to pee. Can you like? I mean, I've taken this podcast over for you. Please, just
Ladies and gentlemen, Greg Miller.
Beyond.
Yes,
I live and go pee right now.
There you go. How you doing? What's up, everybody?
What's up, Greg?
Wow, that was the nicest "What's up, everybody" I've ever heard you say.
Greg, it is
Usually
so
it's
good.
after hours now, drinking a little bit of the burbs. It's fine. Don't worry.
It's so good to see you.
It's good to see you, Steve. How are you?
I'm great.
Look at you lounging on that couch.
I'm super relaxed.
You're living it.
This is
Living
day
it.
3. I'm done.
Yeah.
I love Zach's late night voice. It's awesome.
Can we all get it? We need to get everyone on the same page
Let's do it.
and start numbering these days correctly.
Okay.
Because day 3 makes
This
you.
is day
makes
5.
you-
Yeah, no
exactly
doubt.
right. I
This
mean,
is Kirsten's day 11.
yes. Oh man.
yeah, no, like it's because when you say day 3, it's
Yeah.
like, well, there's no way I should be this exhausted. Why
Right.
am I this tired?
Right.
This
No,
doesn't
this is
make sense.
absolutely day 5.
Yeah.
Back to God of War. Tell us about the best preview you've ever written.
The greatest preview I've ever written.
Yeah.
No, I mean honestly, I've said in my preview like I've played all of the literally all the God of War games I played 1 through 3. I played
I thought that I
Ascension.
had them, then you told me there was like 7 of them, and I was like, oh well.
Yeah, I played
no,
1 through
haven't.
3 Ascension and then the 2 PSP games, and
Hell
like
yeah, you
I
did.
appreciate the mechanics of the
I love
series.
God of War combat so much.
Totally, and I understand like the foundation that David and Corey created, like some of the most influential action games of the last 15 years. But it was just Kratos himself as a character I could never care about.
Sucks.
He sucks because the whole thing is he makes the wrong mistake every time.
Sure.
And everyone else pays for it except for him, which is interesting if there's a moment of catharsis, but there never is because
No.
all he does is just get angrier and angrier.
Calliope.
We bring up Calliope all the time.
Yeah. When you're and that's what they talked about in the demo, which I found was interesting, right? Like Corey looked at Colin and I. We were on opposite sides of the room when he was making the points of like, we know he's a one-note character, and we know the first 3 games were that, and that's why this is now not that. That is Act 1 of Kratos. Corey said that's it. And this is him going on. It's been years and years and years and years, and he's trying to get away from humans. He went here to be alone, and now he isn't. And this is where he has to live. And
I also wonder how that ties in with the narrative of him having a kid and references your mother a lot.
I mean, that's one of the core things is they're definitely not saying, "Oh, well, your mother is an American insult." Like we're,
damn it, Marty.
But no, they're definitely they're not naming the child, and they're not saying who the mother is because that is a very important core concept to the game, and that's going to be one of the core story beats is who the mother is, and it's going to be
some other demigod.
There are some theories that this is a creation myth in Norse mythology, and that Kratos is almost playing the Odin role, and that his son is going to be Thor, just sort of in that idea, which I find super cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really liked listening to Corey talk about the game and him saying now he's a father of a 3-year-old, so this is the first time he's worked on this series.
3?
No.
Corey,
Corey, the creative director.
That
child is definitely not 3.
Oh, that's really
no. That was
I was right there with you.
But him saying that the way he described it was he said. Kratos views being a god as a disease.
Yeah,
he
it's
views
curse.
Rage as its symptoms, and his greatest fear in life is that he's passed that disease onto his son.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I never a week ago, if you'd have told me, hey, you're going to come to E3 and you're going to be emotionally moved by the way Kratos is described in a God of War, what is essentially a reboot, I would have been like, no, absolutely, that's not happening. But here we are.
Yeah. No, it's hitting on all the right notes for me to care about it for the first time and care about Kratos' character for the first time because that was always the problem. He wasn't.
It goes beyond having awesome gameplay, which they always have.
And that's the one thing you're not worried about. It is interesting, right, that they've anchored the camera. It is this third person. You're in control, and and the combat seems more weighted, right? I talked about the fact the way he dodge rolled and everything. It was that reminds me of Dark Souls.
Really, you're right. It looks a lot more like Dark Souls than God of War because God of War I would describe as being just fast. Someone just popped champagne. That just happened.
I don't understand why he me and then opened some champagne.
Yeah.
Is that the first time it's ever happened? Oh, you should hang out with Max more. He says it every time he opens the bottle.
Fuck you, Max Scoville. Damn it. There it is.
There we go. All right. That one was a party popper.
Very sad.
The God of War combat is really fast. It's totally hack and slash. And there's lots of games that haven't been inspired by that I also love, like Darksiders. I love Darksiders so much.
You talk about Darksiders literally more than anyone who's never worked at Vigil.
That's because the artist is one of my favorite comic book artists.
Joe Mad?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good dude.
I love Joe Mad so much. So then the fact that he transferred all of his art style into that game just made me laugh.
I love Darksiders 2. I've reviewed Darksiders 2 twice. Once for 1UP, once for IGN. I don't know how that happened.
You played that Wii U version.
I played the Wii U version, yeah.
Yo, hey, sorry, I want to interject for a second. Joe Mad did one of my favorite covers for anything ever, which was an issue of PSM that was about the reveal of Metal Gear Solid 2. And he's got Olga and Snake, but it's the coolest. I cannot stand his personal designs, but the way he drew those guys. Anyway, sorry, bye. I'm going to go pour champagne.
Yeah.
All right.
Dynamite dropping, Max.
Yeah, but there's still a bunch of questions. Some people, hardcore fans, Megan Sullivan, who's probably our biggest God of War fan at IGN, is super worried that she's going to write an op-ed next week, or maybe it's already up by the time you write this. That she's worried that it's going to lose the sort of the rhythm, almost fighting game-esque nature of the combat system.
I think she's probably right.
Yeah, 100%. In my demo, right, he described it as it's the reimagining of the gameplay and the continuation of the story.
Does it still have the combos?
No, they took that stuff off screen. They want you to experiment.
Yeah, they took the chain meter off screen, but the thing I saw, his axe was like Mjolnir, where he could throw it and then sort of bring it back to him.
Cool.
And so he slashed a guy, he uppercutted him in the air, it slowed down a little bit. He threw the axe at him, it stabbed into the guy, he pulled it back and started
that's so cool.
This is absolutely, there's still going to be high level combat in this. And,
Corey said in our demo, right, that you could, in the very beginning, plant it in the ground, throw it in the ground, walk away, and call it
wherever
hours later.
You can call it
it's also interesting that he doesn't have chains
it's
anymore.
an actual thing.
He has an axe. He doesn't have. Also, wait, did you guys? I don't know if you guys already talked about this. Sorry if you did, but the entire game is one continuous shot.
Yep.
There is no cut in the game.
Yeah.
So the game opens on Kratos, and there is literally no, unless you die, there is no fade to black. There's no cut. There's no A/B conversation where it cuts to Kratos' point of view and then the other character's point of view. It is literally so you imagine.
It's like Birdman.
Yeah, right. It's absolutely like Birdman. Yeah, no, totally. And so this is a game that you are going. I'm assuming takes place over the course of 8, 10, 12 hours, whatever the length of the game is, that's going to be the length.
If there's no cut, it has to follow one thing.
Unless they do something crazy where...
I wasn't expecting that. See, I was expecting moments where you would play as the son. But that could just be a camera shift, I guess.
That could be a camera shift. Or you could do clever things like you could take artistic liberty and have him and his son walking through a forest and legitimately have a narrator talking as seasons are turning. And
that's true.
Sort of like you could smartly handle the passage of time. But
there's creative ways around that.
Yeah. We're going to move on to Detroit.
We're going to move on to Detroit.
Let's hear it
so was God of War the first thing we talked about? I'm sorry that on air I'm catching up.
No, it was not.
No, we talked about Death Stranding first.
Okay, Death Stranding.
We talked a lot about
we mentioned
Norman
it was
Reedus
weird.
being naked.
Max claimed that Norman Reedus is a racist, which we refuted.
He looks like him.
You guys saw Detroit, right?
Not behind closed doors.
Did you, Alanah?
No.
Did you, Steve?
Nope.
I was running late.
Hey, how about that X-Wing VR, huh?
Colin told me all about it. I can tell you what he told me.
Yeah, let's go.
It sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, they did 2 demos. They did 2 different playthroughs of the same thing we saw at the press conference, right? Extended play, though, going through. And what makes it sound super interesting to me is the fact that Connor the android that's coming in as a hostage negotiator. Obviously, we knew that before, but that's his sole purpose as an android. And so when
so he is assigned that role.
Right. That's
Do we know who assigned him that role?
No, I don't know off the top of my head. I assume the police department or whatever.
Yeah.
But as he goes through it, since that's his his mode, his function, there's a percentage up in the corner that is his probability of success. So as he goes through and time goes, it starts dropping because it's taking too long or whatever. The situation is changing. But he can go and find things in the environment and pull them up, and then maybe that benefits him, or it burns time and goes down.
So it's like a case file.
So yeah, he went through and he found Colin was telling me it was I think crumpled up paperwork or whatever, and it was the family ordering a new android. So the guy the android is going crazy is feeling jealousy for the first time and doesn't know how to deal with that,
right?
And has gone crazy because he's going to be replaced. And so then it was this conversation of that up the chances because now he had something to go on. He understood the motivation.
Does that mean this is a detective game? Because that first trailer that we saw last year, Paris Games Week.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was not like that at all.
Well, what it is them going back to Heavy Rain, where it's you're going to have different characters with different perceptions and everything.
Vignettes.
You like vignettes.
Vignettes are my favorite thing in games. I'm a big fan of vignettes. I have a feeling this game is going to be 10, 15 characters that you're honestly going to follow around, and they're all going to be part of the same world. Max, you're just very excited.
I think he says, "Does anyone want to drink?" But I don't know.
The vibe I got from it actually kind of reminded me a little bit of her story, where it's here's this kind of fractured narrative that you get to explore, and you get to find sort of the right parts of it, and begin to piece them together in a way that begins to make sense and leads you to the outcome that you presumably is the big payoff for it all. And so putting it together piece by piece and figuring out how those different pieces relate to each other seemed really interesting. And for me, I'm not sure, is the whole game just that rooftop sequence, because it seemed to be they really focused on that being played out multiple ways.
So I sat down and I got to talk to David Cage about it.
Yeah.
And the last trailer we saw, which was about a android lady in the world, there are several characters. And he compared it to Heavy Rain in that you play as different characters along the way. Also, fun fact about those guys at Quantic Dream, they decide to make a new engine with each game they make because they're insane people.
Yeah, that seems counterproductive.
Seems real efficient.
Also, I pointed out to him, I love that people have complained about the Uncanny Valley in his games, and he's finally at a point where that's not really an issue.
Right.
And it's a game about artificial humans. So
how do you destroy the Uncanny Valley?
Yeah.
You just address it head on.
Why wasn't his first game about androids? Because that would have made a lot more sense, probably.
Because everybody wanted to know the story of the origami killer. But no, talking to David, the interesting thing he talked about was the fact that, in reality, we're the problem in this game. Humanity is the problem. The androids are the pure one. We are the ones who are the corrupted individuals.
Sure.
And so I guess I'm assuming that's what's going to be happening in this game. He was saying, that there's millions of these androids out there, and literally it is a fraction of a percent that are malfunctioning.
Yeah,
the malfunction is them coming of age.
But that's the whole. It's both the E3 demo and then the original the trailer from Paris Games Week both end with "My name is blank and this is my story," and you can see this. You can imagine this thing where you zoom out in Ubisoft trailer style, and there's 1,000 different androids.
And the frag dolls
My name
there
is
controlling drones.
So I don't think it's
that's where I was going.
Sorry, my apologies.
Yeah,
one thing that's really cool is that you can straight up just kill off a character.
Yep.
He said it's kind of standard length for his games, 8 to 10 hours for a playthrough.
Yeah.
But that bit we saw in that demo that's one of the first scenes apparently. and that character that I think his name is Connor.
Connor.
Yeah. Fun little Easter egg, which is sort of an accidental Easter egg, is that particular Android character, that Android police character's name, the actor, his last name is Deckard. Which is
Dum.
Only 80s kids will recognize that.
Only true cyberpunk fans will recognize that reference.
Jason?
I really should have asked him if you can press X to child's name in this game. But no, like it sounds like it's the stuff we've seen so far sounds like it looks really like insane. I think it's more presentation than it is a huge departure from how he makes his games. He said that in terms of like narrative, timeline and just the pacing, it's not vignette stuff. I'm sorry, Marty, but it is heavy rain style, and it'll take you from sequence to sequence, and you are going to have a lot of different outcomes. And I feel like he's been with his games, he's been just focusing in on that interactive movie.
Yeah.
Like just he's been trying to find that, and he's always pushing the boundaries of the he's always trying to do I mean, it probably doesn't help that he builds a new engine for each game, but like he's an innovator. Like Quantic Dream does some crazy stuff with games. They're not, people are like, this isn't a game, this is a movie. And it's like, well, what, like that's nuts. Like you're doing very strange, weird stuff here.
Yeah.
But I think his games frequently don't review well because they're not quite games, they're not quite movies. Like he doesn't compromise really.
Well, it's just, it's like when you look at we all walked out of this one after Colin saw the behind closed doors, and then even when I watched just the trailer for it, it was like immediately starts to feel this is a return to form, right? Because Beyond was shattered, it was fractioned, it was everywhere. Before he ripped off this podcast, but like that, that game had so many problems where when the story was jumbled as I played it, that's when it didn't make sense.
The fact that it was told non-chronologically is insane to me because it was just like you told a messy story even in a messy way.
I've always wanted to go back and play it on PS4 now that you can go through and play it normally, but I just can't get motivated because it left such a bad taste in my mouth. I'll never forget it playing it in a halfway through that game or whatever, she's in on like the
Navajo reservation.
Yeah, exactly. She's on the reservation, and they're like, "So, what are you doing? Like, where are you going?" She's like, "I don't know." And I was like, "Well, if you don't, why am I playing this game?" Yeah, totally. Like this is just you wandering around with a ghost attached to you, which sounds awesome, but sucks.
Yeah. No, I mean,
what was the ghost name? Aiden? Was it Aiden Pearce?
No.
That was a different.
Watch Ghosts.
That was the classic thing, right? Of like David Cage pronounces words, and you're like, is it an accent, or is that really how you want to pronounce?
Yeah, I found it interesting too that you mentioned that mechanic, the rewind, fast forward mechanic. Mm-hmm. That's something I saw in a bunch of games this week. That's a part of that. It's a part of Arkham.
Yeah, Batman VR.
Yeah, it's totally a part of Batman VR.
Really?
It's a part of Tacoma. Yeah. The whole fast
Batman
forward.
can't do that.
Detective Vision.
Yeah.
Come on.
Do you want to talk about Batman?
I mean, you do it, but he can't rewind time.
I just waiting this whole time to talk about Batman.
Seems like I've wanted to leave the entire time.
Did it blow your mind?
It did. It is one of the best things I've seen this year.
Dude, people all leading up to that demo had been doing the thing of what's the best thing you've seen? What's the most surprising thing? I'm like, oh, this is cool, that was cool. And like I left that demo and I couldn't stop grinning. I was like, holy you nailed this. I can't believe this is that good.
Yeah.
Because when they announced it, like, they're like, and here comes some VR games. And it went black, and Hamill starts in as the Joker.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Everybody quiet. And I'm like, what? No way. Oh. And I was like, this is going to be awesome. And I was like, wait, this is going to suck. This is going to be a 10-minute experience.
Yeah.
So I put on this thing, and I'm in Batmobile or whatever. And this is going to be dumb. And to walk in there, and I was like, oh, it's Dax, and it's Sefton. It's like the real Rocksteady guys are here. And I was like, does this suck?
Yeah.
And Dax's like, what? No, put it on. What are you talking about? And then you put it on, and it's like, whoa.
Here's a smart thing they did, right? I love the Arkham series. I think they're really great. I love the combat in them. I think more games should do what they've done with how Batman fights in that game. They made a really smart decision to completely remove that from this experience, right? This is Batman as a detective, like interacting with the environment, searching for clues. And to me, like, that's a big part of like the Batman character that I haven't really experienced in games. I know they've added it, in some of the other Rocksteady games, but this one you actually feel like a detective. You're searching for clues, you're looking around, and you're using, as Marty was saying, that time control mechanic to scrub back and forth among a fight or some sort of interaction to see, this is the part where the murder suspect or the murder victim got his arm broken, and this is where the person touched the wall, and I can look for fingerprints there. I love that.
They had that. It's most people's least favorite Arkham game, but they had that a lot in Origins.
Yeah, they did.
Where it was like you would survey an environment
this system of scanning a crime scene is very, very similar to what it was in Origins.
Yeah. Which even in Origins I liked it.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a game that gets derided quite a bit.
Yeah.
But the best thing about that game was the crime scene investigation.
Yeah.
And that they lifted that almost like beat for beat.
Yeah, and for good reason. I think that was the only real innovation in that game as well.
Second point I wanted to make. You're talking about lack of combat. You're telling me you didn't try to punch Alfred as soon as you got into the demo?
I didn't.
Who tries to punch Alfred, you monster?
I reached out to him.
My man.
Not punch him, but like you look down and you got the bruised, bloody knuckles, and I was like, damn. And then he showed up and like, I was trying to touch.
You're gonna punch an old man?
No,
that old man had it coming.
Yeah.
How did he have it coming?
I was talking to somebody who played the demo, and what they did is they kept taking the photo of Bruce's parents, looking at it, and then tossing it at Alfred, and then it would hit the ground, and then it would respawn. So like they just did that for like a minute and a half, and like Alfred's like just not responding at all to getting hit in the face with the photo.
Yeah.
I will say about this demo, I have been not vehemently opposed, but just mostly cavalier about VR in general. Like it's not something that is very interesting to me. This demo in particular,
I disagree.
I know, but this demo in particular blew my mind. At one point, the PR guys showing me the game were like, "Are you okay? You look really freaked out."
Yeah.
And I was like, "I am really freaked out. This is super cool," and I did not expect.
I think my favorite part is that the inventory system is your belt.
Yep.
Batman's
so cool.
utility belt is your inventory system.
You look down and you see your grappling hook and you see your batarang and you see
That's so cool.
It was great because everything you expect it to do, it did. Where it was like, as soon as I got the grappling hooks, they were trying to talk to me over the headphones, and I was like, no. Just put it on my belt, you know what I mean? Like, and when I needed it, I reached down and grabbed it, and it was the trigger to pull it out. And it was like, okay, this is exactly how you expect this to work. And
I think for people like us, where you've had some experience with VR, like it feels very natural. I don't know what it would be like if it's your very first experience, but for me, like you were saying, Alanah, like just reaching down to your belt and pulling that stuff out, it made the most sense in the world.
If this was my very first experience in VR, I would have been all in, like from the outset.
Yeah.
Like, if I had waited to play any VR games until Batman VR, I would have thrown my money at those dudes.
What specifically makes you say that? Is it the character of Batman that tied you in, or what specifically makes it that good?
I think it's just, to me, it's the idea of putting myself in, like, I thought that the Arkham games did a great job of making you feel like Batman.
Totally.
But this game takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And it also gave me the ability, there's a sequence where you suit up and you see a mirror drop down in front of you, and I just did a real funny dance. And that was good, too, because Batman has a very serious face, and I was doing a very silly dance.
Yeah, the Batusi is a very famous Batman dance.
So would you say it is the fact that you're Batman that sold you on the VR? Or, as a VR experience.
Just the way that how good it looked and how easy,
I think it might be the best looking PSVR game I've played.
I think you're right 100%, there. 100%. And I also think, like Greg was saying...
You better than Riggs?
It's...
Riggs.
Like Greg was saying, it's so intuitive, right? Like, as soon as you... get the grappling hook.
It didn't need a tutorial at all.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as you get the grappling hook, you're grappling two other hooks in the room.
Did you guys throw batarangs at everything?
Everything.
I was on my way down the elevator, and I'm throwing him with the dinosaur, and the demo was like, don't do that. And I'm like, screw you. This is my Batcave. I'm going to do what I want. Yeah.
I was whipping him around with two hands. Like, boom, boom. Yeah.
The thing about it, I mean, is I think on why it works for him and why I think it's going to work for so many and why it was smart. Like, Sony did a really good job at their press conferences. Like, here are some VR games. And they were Resident Evil and Batman and Star Wars. And the thing about Batman is you put it on and holy shit, this feels like a real game. This doesn't feel like demoware. This isn't Gary the Gull where I sit down and kind of have an experience with go, did you play that? Yeah, like, okay. Like, it's not even really reacting. Like, all those things are great. They feel like
it's not a tech demo. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and like, so to get down and finally get it to be like, hey, here are real-ish games. These are real things that you're going to play. I kept saying, like, right now, Batman is the game that when you have anyone to your house and like,
that's
you got
the one
PlayStation VR? I sure do. Try it. Put it on and be Batman. Because that's the one you're going to be like, my God.
That's exactly what I was thinking about when I was playing. It was like, I could show this demo to my friends that don't play games, and they would be 100% all in. Like, it was
I do that with
very,
Job
very
Simulator.
impressive.
That's usually my go-to game.
Yeah.
Job Simulator.
Oh, because everyone has jobs.
Yeah,
Also relatable.
so they understand simulations.
But
Right.
and I love Job Simulator, don't get me wrong, but it's the same thing, right? Of like, oh, this is fun. And
You're right.
It's like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
I don't want to play this for.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, they were like, all right, cool.
It's a
this,
game.
And then that leads to the Nightwing section, and then you've got to go after
So
Cobblepot.
did we establish the Nightwing thing? Is that a spoiler?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just said Nightwing. That's all I said.
Yeah. No, I don't think we should talk about what that means.
Yeah.
Nightwing is pregnant.
Yeah. Shh. Oh well.
Again?
Yeah.
But I
Kojima
think
cuts
that-
a baby out of him
I
and
think
throws
the
him on
point
a
is
beach
there's-
with a bunch of dead whales.
Well,
They all go invisible.
damn it, Kojima.
Yeah.
I think there's probably going to be a legitimately interesting narrative to this. It's supposed to be 60 minutes long,
Yeah.
which
But I heard
feel
there
like
was
you
about another hour of Easter eggs
Easter eggs
and
and collectibles and
exploration
stuff,
things
and
that you
that's
can
really
do.
cool. And I'm
Yeah.
kind of expecting dialogue options in there somewhere or something along those lines. Like, how does a cutscene work when you're Batman in VR?
I don't know.
Because it
I would
can't
think-
control where you look, right? How does that
Oh
work?
no, it can definitely. Well, I guess it
Well,
can't
but if
control
it
where you
pans
look.
to like a cutscene, that's going to make people sick.
Yeah.
For sure.
I don't. You imagine it'll happen around you, and you'll be in it.
Yeah.
Because it's like the fight or the thing with the murder you're talking about,
Yeah.
where you see those people brawling, and I
Yeah.
did the whole thing where I leaned back, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh man, they're coming right at me. Like you
Yeah.
have to move around. I imagine
Yeah.
cutscenes will be that where Cobblepot or somebody will walk by and
Right.
go behind you, and
Yeah.
you'll have to keep looking at them.
I
And
had
talking.
really strong reactions to watching people fight in front of me. I was like, oh, that really would have hurt, man.
So there's a moment where a character gets dropped and he hits his
Is it crunch?
chest,
Yeah.
on a railing, and you can hear his ribs break, and it's so visceral,
Yeah.
and you're seeing it happen in front of you, and the characters look life size. You're not looking at them on a screen,
Yeah.
and I think that was another part of another reason why
Sound
I
design
was
was
sold. The sound design was great, but
Yeah.
it was also you're seeing it happen. It's right there in front of you, and it's just
And
I
you
did the
can,
same thing.
run it in slow motion and lean in.
If you're a
Totally.
yeah.
What were you going to call me just now?
If you're a sicko,
All right, that's fine.
you want
I mean,
to.
I did too.
Steve is a thorough detective.
I don't mind. Yeah, I'm trying to solve this.
You're just very
Oh,
efficient.
did that man's
Yeah.
ribs just break? Let me run that back. I want to take a
No,
second
but
look at that.
I love the attention to detail. And you talk about the cutscenes and how they work. I think it's just like real life. Like
Here comes
you're talking
Max.
to somebody, you look at them.
Yeah.
But I love being able. I don't know how many people did this, but in the introductory scene when you're picking the demos, like if you turn around, you're on the roof of GCPD, right?
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
bat signal's there. And it's
That's
like
so cool.
there are all these little details. Like everywhere you look, this game says, "Hey, this is about Batman," and we
Yeah.
care about it. We understand the character, and
It's
we're going to
Rocksteady.
fill it.
Rocksteady are doing that.
Yeah.
It's not someone else. That's
Absolutely.
just the best. I love the Batman game so much. I have a Batman tattoo. I'm a huge Batman fan.
You have a Batman tattoo?
You've spoken about my Batman tattoo so many times.
Back of her neck. Also,
All right.
was that your idea, or did would you just pass out?
Fun fact, that was my first tattoo. I was underage and I got it in my ex-boyfriend's kitchen. It's also
Terrible.
probably my best tattoo.
Terrible.
It's probably my best tattoo, actually. Yeah.
So we were packing up the war room today, and I was really hoping you'd show up and not lift things, and I wanted to do a Michael Caine impression. What's the point of all this bloody push-ups if you can't lift a beam? Anyway, I don't know. I mean,
He did a sweat.
Max Scoville
in for a penny,
bringing
in for a
it.
pound. What do
Oh no.
what do
You
you
gonna
want?
cover that all in meows? A lot of meows right there.
Meow, 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 meow.
I think the highlight of the PlayStation press conference for me actually might have been that black with Mark Hamill's Joker. That just blew my mind. I think overall it was actually probably the South Park, The Division
Spoof?
prank, I want to call it.
Right.
Like a troll. They made us
That was in
believe that they were
Ubisoft
introing a new Division DLC, and it was a little bit too long, and everyone was like, "I'm kind of bored. What is this?" And then it was South Park.
Also, I mean, I know that you're at this point just entirely jaded to American gun violence, but everybody else is shell shocked as a mother.
Right.
So they're being like, everything is real here in America, and
Yeah.
then there's a cop car on fire and a bunch of horses throwing up, which apparently they can't do because Brian did research on that.
Horses
but-
can't throw up?
Yeah, they actually apparently get real sick if they try to throw up.
Excellent.
Anyway, they had all this stock footage of just the bad things happening, and
Yes.
then they were like, "Oh, just kidding, it's South Park."
I mean, we could probably segue into South Park here. Did anyone else see it?
I didn't see South Park.
Greg,
Greg saw it.
Do a nice shuffle?
take it away. Here, yeah.
There's 3,000 mics coming at me. I got one.
No, you have two, Max. That's probably overkill. Does anyone else want to talk about South Park?
Callie.
Hey.
All right. Yeah, this is
You always run the risk of getting
What's going
really
on?
excited when you're
boy.
talking games.
So, whereas last E3's episode was in a very uncontrolled environment, this This is like there are how many people are in this room right now?
About 50?
72.
350.
Shut up.
12.
What did you expect,
11.
Max?
Shut
A lot.
up, all of you.
Have we
Jonathon
met?
Dornbush says 11.
You know what's cool was texting a group thread of my IGN colleagues and being like, hey, what time is my appointment to do this thing? And Marty goes 4:20, and I'm like, are you messing with me?
He's like, oh, absolutely, yes. Absolutely, I am.
And he goes, yeah, I have no idea what your time your appointment is. Yeah,
12:20.
that wasn't funny. That was
That's what I was going to guess.
it was actually at 6
Marty with the laughs.
which is it's a crazy metric European time that I had to go and buy a new watch to understand it.
So South Park.
Yeah. So, thank you.
Hey everybody, it's Kallie
saved us.
Plagge.
Hey, it's me.
Yay, anime.
Yay, anime.
So
South Park-
Kallie, you do social stuff. What I don't remember what you do. What do you do? What's your
I mean,
job?
she's a huge part of our editorial team.
Oh, that's so sweet.
no, like, seriously, like what do you do at IGN? Like you
I do
Give us a spiel.
I do content promotion. I regulate the rules for moderating our comments, which is
The Lord's work.
a hard thing to do. I also do.
you sift filth.
I rummage through garbage all day.
Yeah.
I'm also the lead on Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of Call of Duty stuff
Yep.
and anime, and I really like first-person shooters and RPGs.
Yeah. I love that you like rush through first-person shooters. Like
First-person shooter and RPGs.
first-person shooters.
Oh, that would be the 4 different kinds of alcohol I've had today.
Anyway, no, that's fine. Anyway, Kallie is I'm using it. Kallie is awesome.
Callie's pretty great.
You talk to us about South Park. Like,
Yeah,
What are your thoughts?
a big South Park fan?
I know more about South Park than I like to admit sometimes because people have very mixed opinions on South Park.
I very often talk to people and I make South Park references and they never get them. I'm
Yeah,
like, all right.
my mother's favorite episode of South Park is Butter's.
Oh, that's
and-
such a good episode.
Yeah.
She is my bottom.
Sally's just my bottom. So, I know quite a bit about South Park. I cheered.
oh
when-
my god, I just realized how old I am.
Yeah.
South
What-
Park is millennial Simpsons.
No.
it's not.
You shut your mouth. I know a lot about The Simpsons too. I can go toe to toe on that too.
I'm not arguing with you there. I'm
I
just
know.
saying
I'm totally.
fight. I was
I'm
just
totally
trying to make
kidding,
a point.
Max. I'm totally kidding.
I'm pretty sure you're a millennial.
I would never fight Max because Max is a wonderful human. But
Anyway, back to South
back to South Park.
Did you check out the
I'm
the
also
demo?
8 feet
barely-
tall and a feminist.
I love you.
Congratulations.
I'll bring your world down in fire. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I cheered when Matt and Trey made out in basketball. I have
Yeah.
I really enjoy those dudes. So, Alanah, you got to see the demo, and you wrote a preview on it for IGN.
Yeah, we just had kind of like an extended gameplay demo of what was shown at E3, which is a ton of
Yeah.
stuff. Like,
Yeah,
there
it's, like,
was,
it's a substantial RPG, and it has these sort of Fire Emblem
dude, it's
tactics.
so Fire Emblem, which
Yeah.
is so weird.
That grid-based combat's awesome.
Yeah, and it's cool because like as a like I do a lot of Nintendo stuff as like a heavy 3DS player, and like
Yeah.
I do a lot of handheld stuff. I love my Vita.
you do.
Seeing those I really do. Seeing those I love visual novels, man. I love seeing like something that's so dear to my like handheld heart come to this South
Sure.
Park game, like this turn-based sort of strategy.
I mean, the first game, The Stick of Truth, still had like turn-based strategy, but it was kind of QTE based, right?
Right,
So it would be
right.
like you would have to press the button at the right time to get
Yeah.
a certain attack. This time around, to me, it almost seems intimidatingly complicated, or rather, it's probably the contrast from the rest of the game combined with the combat is, I don't know, I'm mildly concerned.
I know. I'm with you. That at first glance, when they were showing all this stuff, I'm like, this is a lot to keep in your head.
Yeah.
But then I remember how even Stick of Truth looks complicated in a way.
probably
since I
right.
always- but it's like as you slowly get it, right? Because
Yeah.
that was the thing where it was like they jumped way to the end of the day, right? So that
Right.
Yeah.
King Douchebag was going to be out with the kids and be part of it, and he had
Yeah.
Kite Man or whatever, Kite Boy with him that could do all the different stuff.
Kyle, yeah. I think that the biggest difference this time is that we have character classes and combinations of character classes, right? So we have we have a tank and we have a healer.
Yeah.
And they will all be on the battlefield placed in different places so that you don't ruin your squishy healer too quickly, keep them away from your tank or whatever. And I think the problem with that is Greg and Marty are currently holding hands and it's very pretty. Oh, they just did it.
Oh.
They just kissed.
Smooching on
That
my
actually
arm.
happened.
they smooching.
The problem with that is that you're going to have to know your own party very well, but you're also going to have to know the opposing team's party very well.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe that's tied into their character names or their costumes, but from what I could tell, they weren't. And there are a lot of characters in the South Park Civil War.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different. There's probably a dozen classes, and it's they're all based on archetypes, and they pretty much call out. They're like, eye lasers. He's like Cyclops. Speedster.
But they
He's
also
like
have
Flash
doubles,
or Quicksilver.
right? So they have like battle mages. You can have someone who is both a warrior and a
yeah, you
wizard.
can do a hybrid class, which
And you
I
can
find
change
super
whenever you
cool.
want.
And
It's like characters from the show, right? So it's like Craig and Tweak and Token.
no, it's
then
it's,
you have your own
characters from the
and then you have your
shows,
own
classes from comic books.
Yeah. I mean, like Matt and Trey are huge. So like they're gonna have a bunch of stuff like that.
Of course.
They're stepping it up a lot from Stick of Truth, I think.
Yeah,
In that realm, in the nerdiness realm.
No, I have the utmost faith in
I do too.
the game's story and the game's world and the way it's all going to come together. I'm just like a personal preference. Like I much prefer the 16-bit modeled after Super Mario RPG mechanics of Stick of Truth to the, I mean, admittedly much deeper, probably smarter, probably better.
More challenging. I mean, it was still hard in the first game,
SRPG
though.
mechanics of like a Fire Emblem.
And the thing about it is, I think that we're applying a lot of terminology and a lot of personal experience with other RPGs to this,
Yes.
where I really do think, the classes are going to be different. I don't think they're going to be crazy different. And the fact that you can change on the fly, I think, is going to be that. I'm getting owned in this one battle, similar like when that Al Gore battle in Stick of Truth that everybody ran into,
That was so
right?
hard,
like,
man.
It's going to be that, oh man, I'm getting my butt kicked here.
And his
I'll go try
sidekick's,
this and come back and be that person.
My biggest issue, or one of my main complaints with the first game, was that all of the RPG elements were irrelevant. So you would have gear, and you would open up your inventory when you got new gear, and there would be like a green tick next to the thing that was the best for you. And it's like, that's not an RPG. You're telling me objectively what is the best thing.
Yeah.
And there's no decision making involved, and I hated that. So it's like, this is taking away all of that stuff. It's making it a more genuine RPG, which is good. But yeah, I'm mildly intimidated by it. But at the same time, if they can explain it visually, which class is which, then I think that everyone will be fine, and it's surely going to be tied into that.
Yeah, and I really hope there's some Terrence and Phillip fart physics going on.
I'm sure there will. I like the farcore of farting up the wall like Exploded City.
Stick of Truth also, or I'm sorry, Fractured Butthole also did another thing that was one of my favorite trends of E3 this year, which was provided you the first game for free if you pre-ordered or purchased.
I love that.
We saw this with a bunch of games, and like I love the Stick of Truth, and I thought it was really great. It was really fun, super funny. Don't have an opportunity to play it. I don't have a PlayStation 3 anymore, so this is an awesome way to play through the game before Fractured Butthole
Also,
comes out.
if you play Stick of Truth on PS3, it'll probably delete your save a couple times and crash on you because that's what an Obsidian game did on. PS3.
Didn't happen to me. I got away scot free.
Did you get it?
I missed one chin. One chin Pokemon. That's
Did
what
you get a whole? You didn't get a platinum?
I didn't know that.
You still care about those trophies?
Yeah, of course I do.
I feel like the biggest. I think the biggest difference. I feel like we've kept so much of the spirit of Old Beyond coming to New Beyond. I feel like we're still passionate. We still care. We're still funny. We still go off the grid. We do ham. You do 15 minutes of ordering of an episode.
Can we not talk about the ham episode?
None of us care about trophies.
Thank you, Jonathan.
That's actually a decent segue. We're going to move on to.
Why are we moving on already? I still have stuff to say about South Park.
No, we have so many games to talk
Marty
about.
has
And there's a whole preview on
We have
IGN.com.
so many games.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Can I please
plug your preview?
I have a preview on IGN.com. I mentioned fought in it more times than anything else I've ever written.
That's not true.
And I'm very excited about this game.
No, I've read your
It is
live journal.
definitely true.
I have read your live journal.
You
You
read
have
my
so
live
many
journal?
farts in there. I know. It was really nice.
man, thank you.
Yeah. You were a Charmander
Are you my
Rosard.
one Patreon supporter?
Shut up.
Please keep blogging.
No, so we're moving on to probably one of the coolest trailers, reveals, things we didn't expect from the Sony press conference, which was the reveal that Insomniac is making a Spider-Man game,
That's the thing.
which is super cool.
Oh my God! You want to talk about like literally one of the hardest secrets I've had to keep in my life.
You knew about this?
For like 3 months, and it's been like if you notice, like on our podcast, P.S. I love you XOXO. Like whenever we find out information, then we get real quiet about like the rumors. So like whenever it's like, oh, they're going back and forth, we're just like, yeah, that's interesting.
Okay.
Oh
Next
man, we
story.
do the opposite of that. We're like, I think this is gonna happen.
And then we call it, but I want to, Kallie has hopped off to get a drink, but we're bringing on, making his Podcast Beyond
welcome.
debut.
Thank you.
Jonathon Dornbush.
Hello.
Beyond.
Beyond.
Jonathan literally started at IGN during E3, which seems
we're all very
absolutely
sorry.
terrifying.
It's a normal week.
You're Andrew's news
So
lieutenant.
not a normal week. Please know it's not a normal week.
This is not a normal
Don't
week. No,
leave.
you can. It turns out you can go home and go to bed. It's wonderful. It's amazing.
I don't
most
get what
weeks,
that is,
yeah.
but sure.
Yeah, but it's totally fine. Jonathan's amazing. He busted his ass all week. He's obviously incredible. He's I don't know. He's just one of those hires.
He looks like a happy goal farm. I like him.
A little bit for now.
I mean,
we'll see.
I'm sorry. This is going to get very annoying, but you look like Goldfarb before we tore the life out of him.
Okay.
Very true.
I'll
Very
take
true.
that.
Also, unlike Goldfarb, you appeared on the podcast.
Counterpoint.
It's a little weird, yeah.
Counterpoint. We don't know him that well. Maybe he's awful.
I mean, that's
you've only known me for like a week and a half.
No, but the reason we brought you on is, you are very amazing, but also you love Spider-Man.
Yes, Spider-Man 2 is one of my favorite games.
This guy. Good guy.
Yeah.
Good hire, everybody. Good job.
Guys, I know this is a PlayStation podcast, but the first time that I ever got the Red Ring of Death was because of
Spider-Man 2.
Because I left my console on because it didn't have saves in between boss fights.
Oh,
Well,
right.
maybe
So I
you
left
should
it on
have left
overnight
your
and it red ring.
console on, dude.
But then I would have to do the whole thing leading up to the boss fight
No,
again.
you probably have the weird power strip thing. I don't know how do things plug in Australia?
Like,
How many prongs?
You plug them into the deadly spider.
we have 3 prongs.
Yeah. You set your console on fire. So Spider-Man.
So Spider-man.
Yeah,
Jonathan, thank you for getting us
This
back
is
on
the
track.
point where I would look
I
at the
try.
camera with a blank face
yeah,
very
what do you-
angrily. It didn't happen.
Jonathan, what did you think of the Spider-Man reveal?
I loved it. I really did not. I mean, the rumors were swirling beforehand, obviously, with Sucker Punch being the rumor that it was going to be them developing. And I love the Infamous games, and I thought that would have been a great fit. But I'm so excited for an Insomniac Spider-Man game.
Right.
Especially after Ratchet. The tone that they nailed just in their animation style and their sense of humor, I think fits Spider-Man so well. And I think they'll be able to kind of get the swing mechanic down to what it needs to be.
I mean, it's so exciting based on what they did with Sunset.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Where they were
yeah,
finally like, hey,
I always
here's...
kind of don't want to mention Sunset, but it's like Sunset Overdrive almost feels like a Spider-Man.
No, yeah,
Sunset,
that's right. Yeah.
Sunset Overdrive is, I know this is Podcast Beyond, I know, if you don't own an Xbox One, that is the biggest thing you're missing out on.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sunset Overdrive.
That game is so
Yes.
fun, and
Yeah.
it's fun for the same reasons that a Spider-Man game would be.
Yeah,
Right.
it's so
It's
much about
traversing.
the it's about the movement in Sunset, and Spider-Man is all about that movement. Spider-Man 2 was about swinging through the city and feeling like Spider-Man.
My balloon!
That too,
Also,
capturing
Spider-Man.
random. I hope there is a balloon in this game. There has
Do you
to
think there's a moment in the game where a bunch of Teamsters decide to move a crane?
Move
Do you
the
know how many people took this screen cap the trailer where there is a crane?
No, yeah,
and sent it to
Greg,
hey, Spider-Man,
Greg-
swinging my crane for you.
I yelled that in the war room because
Yeah.
of how much you said it. It's
Yeah.
in my brain. I can't get.
Quick
switched
aside,
off.
one of my favorite things that's happened is on our Patreon exclusive episode where it was just me one-on-one with my dad.
Yeah.
Is I introduced him to the audience, right? And I didn't even think about it, but my dad's a heavy equipment operator. He runs cranes. And so somebody took a screenshot of the Spider-Man movie and put, "Hey, Spider-Man, do you need?" Or it was a guy. It was Spider-Man. It was, "Hey, I need somebody to swing this crane." And the second one was my father from the set going, "I got this."
That's really good.
Oh my god.
That's so good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I definitely got shades of the Treyarch game, right? That was the game that first made me feel like I am Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
It had the swinging through the city. It had sort of like the random crimes.
Yep.
I love the idea that we're getting a next-gen version of a game that looks like it gets all those same sort of points right. What I wanted to see, though, that I didn't, is a recognizable villain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it seems like he's beating up guys, and it looked like clown masks or like these weird sort of
Yeah,
black
they're wearing
and
like
white masks.
iron whatever
Yeah.
masks. Yeah,
And to
yeah.
me, like, I wanted a little bit more of a sense of like, what's the big bad guy that he's fighting, or,
Sure.
or are there big bad guys he's fighting? Obviously,
I wonder
there are,
if
but
they
I wanted to
worried
see it.
about maybe not putting in a villain because they didn't want to suggest that was the main villain of the game. Would
I
be
agree
my
with
only
that.
thinking.
I mean, I think also,
Yeah.
I mean, we can't ignore the fact that Sony is also doing stuff with the Spider-Man franchise in movie theaters as well, and they're trying to
Right.
figure out like how are these going to play off each
yeah.
other.
They're straight up. I don't think they're linked whatsoever. You
I
look at
agree
his
with that.
costume and
Yeah.
you hear his voice. He's not. What's the kid's name from?
Tom
not Tom
Holland.
Holland.
Yeah.
And you look at his costume. He has that giant white symbol.
spider.
Yeah.
And that's very much, I think, I've gone back and forth with a bunch of different people, and you'd know better than me. I see shades of Ben Reilly. I see shades of Cosmic Spider-Man. But I think above all, it's just like, nope, not the movie.
Yeah,
Clearly not the movie. We
It's
are our
very
own thing.
distinctly. Yeah,
we're
they
not-
show that symbol so much.
We're not the Ultimate Universe. We're not the comics. We're doing something on our own with
Yeah.
it.
Right.
And I really think what's interesting is, to your point about the villains, is I really think this was something set up just to jab you in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that there's no logo for this game,
Yeah.
and there's not even a title. It was just hashtag
Tag.
Spider-Man PS4. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
Hey, if that's the title of the game, I quit. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Hashtag Spider-Man PS4 is the title of the game.
It was bad enough when the PlayStation 3 used the Spider-Man font. I'm out.
Yeah. Well, and I think in contrast to Batman, right? Batman has always been a little bit less interesting than the villains he fights. Spider-Man has the opposite problem. So it's like I didn't necessarily need to see Rhino or Kraven or Venom in this trailer, but I was surprised they didn't have something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the feeling this game's very early on.
Yeah.
I get the feeling that this is... I think the game will look and feel like this, but I almost see this more as a tone piece. Just knowing Insomniac, so they finished Sunset Overdrive, they finished Ratchet & Clank, which is one of my favorite games of the year so far. They're doing Song of the Deep, which is about to come out through GameStop deal. But then they also have Edge of Nowhere.
Yeah, they're working on the VR.
So they're working...
There's one other one, too.
Yeah, they did announce something. Or maybe we just...
I'm going off the South by panel I did with him, and I think I'm including Ratchet back then, so those would be the 3 total.
Yeah, and so, I get the feeling that, their AAA core development team, which was maybe Ratchet, I don't know how many people are in
Ratchet was North Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Ratchet was done out in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So they
did well.
Representing.
So you figure it's Insomniac Prime in Burbank.
Yeah.
They wrapped on Sunset and then probably started working on this.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing, too, is they said that this is sort of the beginning of Sony and Marvel and Spider-Man's collaboration.
Yeah.
This is
that fascinates me.
Yeah, this is the first step towards something bigger, and now I'm really curious, this is a feature I want to do of, what dream developers could you pair with these Marvel superheroes?
Yeah.
Who do you want to make, who should make a Punisher game?
This is the best thing about it, and
Raven Software, but they're not around anymore.
They are around.
They're around. They are around. They're just anchored to Call of Duty.
Hey,
Colin would be so upset.
Remastered all
there you go. Great. All right, cool.
Charles Weiss.
No, this is... I forget who was there from IGN when we went and saw the Age of Ultron screening early, and I thought I was just going to an Age of Ultron screening, and then let's talk about video games. I know this is happening, and it was Marvel's new video game team,
right?
And they came out and they were like, we're changing how we do video games. We're moving forward. We want it to be great. And then they announced the Telltale partnership that we haven't seen any fruit from. But they did that, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. What a great idea. And then to get here with Insomniac, it's like, oh, they actually get it and believe it. Hey, let's take our properties and give them to talented developers. Let's not sign a deal with Activision, who then gives it to whoever, who then milks it every year so they don't lose the contract and make nothing. Instead, let's get it and actually treat it like Batman. And when you say that, it's like, that's awesome, and they know that it's awesome, so who else is making other things? Who is working on the Avengers game?
Yeah. And I think it definitely, in light of Disney Infinity ending and Disney getting out of the publishing game, that opens up Marvel for everything. I mean, I feel like Disney Infinity, to an extent, was holding back those properties 100%. From being used in other places. Yeah. And I love the Infinity games, and I have all those statues of all the Marvel characters, but I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see them now in other games and go to other developers.
Lego.
Right? Yeah. Oh, I want that better.
Hell yeah, I got my Arrow minifig. And I was also like, where's the Supergirl minifig? I've been watching the leaks. I know what's happening.
I'm holding out for Knight Rider and A-Team. Those are the ones.
Yeah, those are the ones you're ready for?
It's crazy. They're adding so many. I mean, I know this is not PlayStation exclusive, but they're adding so many IPs this year.
I love it.
And they're really digging deep. They've got Goonies and E.T.
Gremlins.
It's amazing.
I was like,
but I'm excited to see Powerpuff Girls, Teen Titans Go. They're really broadening out the roster of IPs for this thing.
I'm totally waiting for the moment. They already got Sonic. I'm totally waiting in Portal. I'm totally waiting for the moment that Nintendo's just like, all right, you can have it.
Uncharted. They got to get Uncharted. Neil Druckmann wants it.
Yeah.
A Nate minifig.
Yep.
What do you get? Gravel?
Yeah, of course. I think we might go. We'll go.
I mean, it's not any dumber than Ethan Hunt for Mission Impossible, right? Which is also being added in Generation 2.
Oh, that's really dumb.
Yeah, it was a strange.
What, Ethan the Mission Impossible guys?
Yeah.
It's a level pack, so I'm down.
Yeah.
If I get level pack,
I get that.
It's when they go team pack. I'm like, right. No sale.
No, stick to the level packs.
We were mentioning Raven Software before, and Activision. I don't know what that Raven song is. That Raven Simone?
No, that's Raven's song from WWE.
That's so Raven.
I remember Raven.
He went from
did that one
DDT.
Weird DDT where people landed on their face.
Yep.
Yeah.
Him and Tommy Jr.
I don't know what just happened. But we're going to transition onto one of the big games on stage at Sony, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare.
Yes.
And I am going to recuse my mic for Kallie Plagge, who is
Wait, why don't I recuse my mic? I've been here forever.
Do you want to? I'll stay here.
Yeah.
Do you want to go get a drink?
I think he needs to pee.
Can you bring me a drink?
What do you want, Marty?
Kallie, I think I have a cup somewhere. Kallie
What do you want to drink, Marty?
Just put anything in the cup.
a vodka soda.
Okay. Do you want anything to drink?
If there's more champagne, I want champagne.
Kallie.
Hey.
Welcome to the episode.
Welcome back.
Again. You're probably our biggest Call of Duty fan at IGN. You got to see a little bit more of the game or talk to the devs.
Yeah, I did a suite appointment, so I got to see a presentation of basically the story mode. If you don't know, the creative or the design director and the narrative directors, both directors are from Naughty Dog. So
That's the thing that has me excited about the game.
Yep.
Honestly.
and one of the things I took away from my appointment, I have a little preview breakout on IGN. Is that the story is based in these classic war stories. They mention Band of Brothers, they mention Saving Private Ryan, and they mention Black Hawk Down. And I think that was one of the big misconceptions that people had was when Call of Duty Infinite Warfare was announced. They were like, Call of Duty's in space now. Like, what is this? They've gone so far from what we remember of Call of Duty. I mean, people were really split on how they felt about it. But I really do think it's like zero-G physics in a World War II-esque story.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what I got from it.
So let me clarify just a little bit, though. It is set in space, but it's also on Earth, right? There's the UN Space Agency, so, like, there is a lot of terrestrial action in this game, and then you launch into space. And so, like, there's a great mix of, like, gameplay approaches in this game.
Yeah, and even when you do launch into space, you can land on an asteroid and have some boots-on-the-ground style combat on an asteroid. And one of the things that Jacob Minkoff, who's the design director, was talking about was...
That's one of the guys from Naughty Dog.
From Naughty Dog, yes. Is you'll be on an asteroid close to the sun, and you don't have to necessarily just worry about what's in front of you, who's shooting at you horizontally, but the sun's impact vertically. And so that's a different mechanic, but I do think that the story is rooted in these World War II, Vietnam sort of origins, and I think that's really important for people to take note of. I mean, the story is from people who have a lot of experience with narrative direction.
There's no champagne. What else do you want?
Vodka. I like vodka. That's not related to Call of Duty. And the narrative is World War II, and where was I going with this? But the other thing I wanted to mention is the Jackal that you see. That's the ship the ship that takes you up through orbit and into space. That is almost all manually controlled. So
which is crazy.
It's super cool. It reminded me a lot of Battlestar Galactica. The one thing I really loved about the show was the Vipers. Those are the planes that are similar to what the Jackal looks like in Call of Duty. They move with more space-like physics than flight physics. Thank you so much, Greg. Greg brought me a drink.
Vodka on the rocks. I didn't know if you wanted it.
Vodka on the rocks. Well, here we are.
Why did you put rocks in the drink? I don't know how alcohol works.
Just absolutely.
We were talking about asteroids and who knows.
That was a good transition.
Yeah, thank you. I'm bringing it back. And I think that's really cool that they are keeping it really grounded, but they introduce this interesting kind of flight mechanic. You can go manual to automatic flight. You can go from like kind of hovering to strafing and dogfighting, and it's really promising. I'm really excited for this Call of Duty. People are kind of like, oh, it's just another Call of Duty. They do this every year.
They can get over that.
They can get over that. You can get over that. This is super, super cool.
Yeah, I've also I've been hearing about this game for a couple months, and the words that keep getting thrown out are Battlestar Galactica and Firefly.
Yeah,
which is really cool to me. And also, can we just be grateful for the fact that in the first time in our professional careers, we have a year where Call of Duty and Battlefield are eons apart from each other.
Yeah.
Like, they're going for such different things.
It's me, Max Scoville. Sorry. No, this is a weird year because it's the first time in my life that I've been like, two games I'm looking forward to are Call of Duty and Battlefield.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because I've worked at IGN for 2 years and now I'm like a AAA monster person.
I mean,
I'm drinking the Doritos Kool-Aid. But
I saw the opening level, and I want to reiterate, like, this does have this Battlestar Galactica feel, but the opening level, the very introduction, is from the first attack on Earth. It is very Pearl Harbor-esque. Earth, the UN sort of headquarters, the equivalent of the UN in Geneva, is attacked, and you're on these European cobblestone streets, and it feels like I'm playing a World War II Call of Duty. And it's just, I think from what I have seen, obviously we haven't seen that much of Call of Duty Infinite Warfare yet, but what I've seen, I think it marries that space age and it marries the future and the past very well. And I'm really, really excited. And I think that if you have written off Call of Duty in the past, you should give it a second try.
Yeah.
And then also, if you don't end up liking it, you'll get Modern Warfare Remastered.
I'll tell you the three things. They're the three things that I'm most excited about. Number one, I didn't know I was watching a Call of Duty game for a while.
Yes,
I was watching this game and I'm like, this looks really cool. This looks awesome.
That's incredibly reassuring.
Yeah. Number two, you don't constantly have soap there saying, go to this hill, open this door, shoot that guy. Like in terms of like player action, like you're in charge. Like you're deciding what you do, and it makes sense given the context of the game. I was very, very sick of Call of Duty's hand-holdy approach to mission design, where everything was scripted, everything was triggered, and you were led around by an NPC. The third thing, though, and the thing that most impressed me about it, is you go from fighting on foot to being in a ship to shooting to being outside of the ship, shooting in space to being inside a bigger ship, shooting inside of it. And there's no loading. And I called the guys liars.
Yes.
I called them liars. I said, you're deceiving us. You are hiding something because there's no way that your game goes through all these different gameplay environments without any loading. And they said, we're doing it. We're doing it all in the background.
Sorry, we just did our jobs. Like
they basically told me that, I mean, they'd been waiting for this technology to happen. This is the first longer development. It's a longer development cycle for Infinite Warfare. I believe it was 3 years, but don't quote me on that. Greg Miller did bring me a vodka on the rocks.
I'm super quoting you on that.
It's not really a drink.
Honestly, I probably remember that correctly. I just want to say, but you can get off of your ship and go on foot attack another enemy ship, and you can go onto that ship and hear intel from the enemy commander, and you can go back to your hub, which is the ship, the Retribution, and your compatriots will be talking about the things you've been doing, and the news will be reporting on your.
Okay,
can I blow your mind though? Can I blow your mind?
Yeah.
They told me that the game's about 8 to 10 hours long, and it takes place in real time. It's like high noon. Like the story in the game
super cool.
is an 8 to 10 hour story in the character's life, and it fills that same amount of time.
And I wanted to jump on the mic to talk about loading times and how playing a game with no load times is like taking an airplane with no layovers.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy.
If it was fun the whole time, and now you guys are telling me really cool things about the new Call of Duty.
Yeah, I mean, okay, go ahead,
swear
Zach.
words.
No, I mean, I just wanted to echo Max's sentiment. I haven't been interested in Call of Duty since Modern Warfare. Yeah. Like that's literally the last Call of Duty that I played, and this game has got me excited. It's a really weird thing for me, of all people, to say, "Hey, I'm excited to play Call of Duty this year."
I did a brief booth tour of the EA kind of live area. They don't have like a booth this year, but they have like a weird kind of separate area.
Right.
And I walked up and picked up a controller at a station at Battlefield 1, and I was like kind of expecting one of those things where you're spawned, and you're in like some crappy garage or something, and you got to run out and you got to sprint for 2 minutes, and then you wind up getting headshotted by somebody.
Right.
They've got something really cool going on.
Yeah.
That feels like a very large BioShock game.
Yeah.
And that's a dumb thing to say because it's a World War I game, but no one's done one of those in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that is an incredibly colorful game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's also gorgeous. Like it's amazing to look at.
It's beautiful.
The scenes from the trailer of the blimp on fire dropping out of the sky as you're like riding a horse underneath it. Insane. Absolutely crazy. Like,
no, I mean, I dropped in there and I was expecting to just kind of be like, well, I'm gonna get my ass kicked, but I did, but it was like, respawn inside of a tank and just shoot people from inside your tank and then be like, I mean, that's it's not a new feature or anything, but like, it's a really stupid looking tank.
Yeah. My favorite thing, though, is the bird. There was such activity and action around that stupid bird being loose in the tank in the Battlefield 1 trailer. You remember that?
I love that, yeah.
It was such a cool moment.
I'm excited about the campaign for that. And
I am really looking forward to Battlefield 1. I mean, obviously I play a lot of FPS games. I'm also a huge war history nerd, and something I'm really interested in is how they're going to marry the beginning of the war, the technology you have at the beginning of the war with the end of the war, because World War I is marked by this rapid advancement in military technology. And you see in the first trailer, you have these horses and you have tanks and you have a Zeppelin. And it's like, I cannot wait to see how that is balanced in the story, like the main campaign, and in multiplayer. Like, how am I going to face a tank on a horse? Is there a progression? Like, how does that work with the history of World War I? And also, that is one of the most bloody wars in human history, and
it's also one of the gassiest wars.
It is, and mustard gas is definitely making an appearance in Battlefield 1.
What did it eat?
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever just read All Quiet on the Western Front and you've
also,
played Battlefield 1.
If this game does not perform well, I really hope that our I'm just going to say it right now. I really hope that our heading is the good, not great war.
Nice.
God!
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
Really dumb.
I'm
really
sorry.
dumb.
Marty, you take over. I'm getting another drink. I don't know why.
All right.
We're going to transition now into a thing Kallie and Zach know a lot about, but also Miranda and Greg know a lot about, and so we're going to talk about Persona 5. Miranda and Greg.
I'm out.
Over here. I know.
Miranda,
We're out.
Miranda will take my spot. Miranda, come here.
No, she can take my spot.
She's gonna take it.
Okay. Never
Yay,
mind.
anime.
Yay, anime.
Hi guys.
Yay, anime.
Hey, how you doing?
Yay, anime.
Sorry for that dead air.
Sorry.
I just had an aneurysm.
No, apparently I heard back there James edits this whole thing, and like we should all be really nice to James because he's going to edit this.
He doesn't-
He's going to
all
cut
right.
out that dead space, I'm sure.
Oh, well. in
James,
that
you
case,
cut out
I'm
that
very
dead space?
Sorry, James. I've been
You
taking
didn't cut
notes,
out.
buddy. Okay, so who saw Persona? Did anybody
We all
see
did,
any
yeah,
of
right?
Persona?
Oh man, it's so gorgeous.
Take it away, Miranda. Well, first of all, Miranda, this is your first time on this episode, so hi, Miranda.
Hi, Miranda.
Hello.
Hey, Miranda.
Hi.
Hello everyone. Hi.
Didn't
Welcome.
see you there.
It's been a while since I've been on Beyond.
Beyond.
Yeah.
So,
Wi-Fi.
Persona 5.
Persona 5. I feel bad because Andrew's not here. So
He had to go to
Maybe
bed.
You should learn to stay
So
up.
that dead air earlier was a moment of silence for Andrew.
Yeah,
I just want
yeah,
everybody to know
exactly.
that.
He's just too sleepless, you know? He's got too sleepy.
yeah, and if you haven't checked it out, he wrote a great preview.
He did.
About Persona 5
Yeah.
for IGN. It's a cool website that I've heard about once or twice.
Popular.
It's 20 years old.
Yeah.
What? So
That's like how old I
One of
am.
the things that I
we're
loved about
babies.
this year's E3, well, last year too, but especially this year, was that Atlas had a booth right across from the IGN booth and the GameSpot booth, and the two of us could watch the Persona 5 stage demo over and over again whenever it was on, if we were happened to be in the booth at the time. I didn't get to see the full demo, but I caught it in bits and pieces over the course of the show. The game looks amazing in motion, like even better than I.
So beautiful.
yeah, so I mean,
it's nuts
you look
how
at
it looks.
Persona 4 and it was a scale up for PS3. Like
Yeah.
Persona 4 Golden was just like ported, and so we haven't had like a really big jump since then. And so you just take a look at Persona 5 and it's like, dang,
Yeah.
that's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
And that was the thing with the first trailer they put out for Persona 5, where I was like, I didn't even think about it. I never even thought about the fact that I've been playing PS2 games forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Like, I had it on my
now
Vita.
I'm finally going to get exactly. Now I'm going to get something that is current gen and what that looks like and how much detail you can have and how Shibuya can look like Shibuya and the school can be teeming with people and you go to the flower shop and you need to give them the right flowers. You're like, oh my god, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Give me this game.
I feel like a lot of us who play games, especially imported games, we're used to playing games that are a couple years old.
Right.
And I was the same way as you, Greg. I was like, oh man, this is a huge step above what I even expected, because I totally lost track of what year it is. And
I mean, like, there's like a billion gifs online of just how super stylish this is.
oh man,
It's nuts.
All
I
the
think
menus are
Andrew's
amazing.
headline was like Persona 5 is dripping with style. I believe that was
Yeah.
his headline. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, dang, it looks so good.
It feels almost sacrilegious to have this conversation without him.
I know. I feel so bad. Like,
feel-
I'm looking
but
at
I feel
remember,
dirty.
Podcast Beyond listeners, he turned his back on you again.
I'm looking at
But he left you before, and then he
Greg,
came
we didn't
back.
invite you here to sabotage us, buddy. All right, come on.
Oh, don't worry, you're doing it all yourself.
Oh, unbelievable.
Anyway, so for
So Persona.
So like one of the newest things we kind of learned was the hold up feature, which is very Shin Megami Tensei, which is so cool because like
Yeah.
before you get into a battle, it's like, hey, wait a second, what if we can be friends?
Yeah, that's
Right.
awesome.
Yeah, just recruiting people for your party or personas for your party, and that's like just like an awesome new addition. Before like it's just very straight, like hey, you're gonna fight.
I really like the Pass the Baton edition too.
Yeah,
The ability of like before where it's like it'll take a mortal blow, and it's like yeah, but that never ever happened. But now
Yeah.
the ability of like this person's weak to this attack. I don't have a persona that can do that, but you do. So yeah, I'll pass it to you. You get extra damage. You get to go do it. Yeah, okay.
yeah, and it kind of stinks because we get Persona way later than Japan.
Yeah, I know.
Next year. I'm so sad. I'm just gonna import it anyway, so it's okay.
But you can't speak and read the Japanese.
I have a minor in
does
Japanese.
No, that is. I mean, bringing it back to importing, like that is one of the struggles. Is like having to wait for a game, and having to weigh the like. Do I want to try to, fumble my way through the Japanese or wait a little while? I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet.
But I mean, the thing about Persona, right, is that for me, and let's look at just Persona 4 Golden, no spoilers, right? Like,
Yeah, sure.
discovering who the killer is, right? Like,
Right.
Okay, but like, when I think of it, that's not what I think about with Persona. I
Right.
think about the social links I chose.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think
It's like
about
you think that Rise is best girl,
exactly.
right?
No, Chie.
Chie is great. Chie is like your bud. She's
yeah.
the best bud.
That's real love
I'm
there.
very divided because someone told me I should cosplay Chie, but I'm a Rise girl, so I don't know, man.
Man, Rise is the best
I think
girl.
I'm with Greg on this one. I think she is best.
No, she is
Aaron
like
Fitzgerald for the win.
She's like your best friend. Like I want you to be
That's
my
why she's
best
best
bud.
girl.
with.
No, but
Duh.
Rise, you have Rise right in front of you. How do you go?
You have half
Don't get me wrong.
the anime
don't get me wrong.
club
I
on,
understand.
and you want to talk about
I
best girls?
It's like,
I want to.
please,
I understand
we can tell you.
Rise's appeal, a draw. Don't get me wrong. She's an idol. I get it. But I'm
She
just saying.
just loves you.
So I know, but
loves you.
it's that's the problem. It's too easy.
But she's-
from the moment
so-
she meets me, she's
okay.
into me. But I can make Chie blush. I make her uncomfortable. She walks away. She's all fumbling forward.
So can we all establish
Okay,
that?
wait. I think you might have converted me because that's adorable.
No,
Right?
I need you on my side, Callie. Okay, so no,
Check it out.
we're
It's
just saying
just
this all together.
Rise is like
She's-
perfect.
She's great level. Anyway, can we all just agree that Yukiko is the worst?
Wait,
yeah, of course.
I'm sorry, everybody.
Are y'all talking
likes
about
her, but-
cosplay?
Gosh, she's
A little bit. We're talking about cosplay. So yeah, there's a lot of characters I want to cosplay, and then people tell me I should cosplay the character I don't want to cosplay, and I'm like, So that happened with Chie and Rise.
Oh, people always just tell me that I should cosplay characters that have boobs.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean,
So that's fun.
All
sort of.
female characters.
They're like,
boobs,
hey,
though.
have you considered cosplaying the one in the bikini? I'm like, no, actually.
I relate to that quite a bit. Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
But anyway, I wanted to segue this to just like, cosplay isn't really a thing at E3, but to talk about E3 as a whole, like, what E3 is this for you? This is my
This
second.
is my 33. So
You said 33? It was like, wait, 33?
this is my
Callie, you're surprised you're in here.
I was coming here 11 years before E3 started.
It was very lonely.
third electronic entertainment
I thought we were
expo.
like
How about you,
teenage,
Miranda?
no? Huh? It's my second.
Your second? And
Yeah.
Greg?
This is my 10th.
Damn, dog.
All right, well,
Congratulations.
I said that yesterday on Giant Bomb, feeling like a badass, and then Cliff and Jeff looked at me like, we've been to every E3. I'm like, all right, fuck off, Jesus.
But I mean, E3's changing, right? I feel like there were less exhibitors on the show floor than pretty much any other year. The booths that were there were rad, though. Like
Yeah.
the Mafia,
even though
the
everyone,
Mafia booth.
it's a
that,
a
like,
literal
there were
bar.
so many beautiful, and Dishonored too also had like a great thing at
The
Bethesda.
Dishonored booth was sick. Like the
and the
computer
Prey stuff
screens
they had too was cool.
Yeah, and then I really liked the Capcom booth actually. Like I played
So
Resident
cool.
Evil.
So that one's a house, basically.
Yeah,
it's like a haunted
you,
house.
You go into this haunted house to play the Resident Evil 7 VR demo, and I didn't know I was going to Capcom to play that. I was like, I'm going to play Ace Attorney because yay anime. And then
isn't there like a cool like courtroom setup for that?
yeah, there's a
I didn't see
courtroom
it.
for
That's
Ace
so
Attorney.
cool.
We'll get to that later. But like,
Objection!
I got there and they were like, all right, we got you set up for Resident Evil, and I was like, what? So I go into this haunted house. It's the coolest thing. I kind of love these booths, but at the same time, like I was seeing more people dressed in like J fashion and like interesting streetwear. I saw the Horizon. There was a Horizon like Watcher walking around.
Yeah, the
with
Watcher
Sony,
was
but that was
walking around.
Oh my
so
God,
cool.
that
like
was rad.
I was in the middle of an appointment and I was like, okay.
So the Watchers
Can we
look
pause
like,
for the cause? Because oh my god,
They
look
look
like
like
raptors.
yes, they are like
Yeah.
raptors, and it was like you could see the person's legs, but for the most part, it seemed like that suit was mechanical.
It looked like, so you know how Jurassic Park was made in 1993, but like it still looks intimately real. That's how I felt about the Watcher walking
Dude,
by.
it was intimidating.
I was like, oh man, a machine is coming to attack me, and I'm just trying to play Manifold Garden, which by the way is cool. It's a cool puzzle
We
game.
should talk about that.
But we'll talk about that, yeah, too. I hope so.
At some point.
If we're talking about cool booths and stuff, did everybody go to Telltale?
I didn't get to
actually didn't get a
Oh
chance.
my
I got to walk
God,
by,
was
and
that
it was
awesome.
really cool.
I walked in there early, and it's Wayne Manor, and there's the thing, and there's the bus, and they have cigars, and if you came later, they were going to have cocktails, and there's photos of Bruce and his parents.
That's rad.
But then there was against the wall, there was the grandfather clock.
That's
and you
really
pushed
cool.
it to the side, and you
That's
walked
how you get
into
in?
the Bat
Oh,
cave.
dang, I didn't see
And
that.
they had
Oh,
a Bat
man.
computer, and that's where you got your demo from, this giant TV
Look,
and a Bat computer.
I feel like the scale of these booths exists this year because so many people pulled out. We had Activision pull
Yeah.
out.
Sure.
We had
Yeah.
Disney pull out.
With that even happening, like, I still felt like this was super busy E3.
Yeah.
It's always going to be. That's
Even
the thing,
yeah.
is, like, for every year. I mean, my first E3 was the Santa Monica E3, where E3's dead. And so now it's all broken up around 1 million hotels in Santa Monica. And everybody's like, this is terrible. Or
Yeah.
the Convention Center. And so every year people have been like, E3, loudmouths like Colin are like, oh, E3 is losing its importance. It's going to be about Gamescom. It's going to be this. And it's like, we're going to be back here in a year. And like,
I mean,
E3 will always look different and change, but
Yeah.
I think EA Play was more annoying than it was helpful.
Yeah,
I
I
got
agree.
to play Titanfall 3 times, so that was kind of nice.
It's
Yeah.
one of those, next year E3 will be open to the public, or
Yeah.
the year after.
I think so too. And
Yeah.
I mean, last year I covered E3 for the BBC, which meant that I didn't have this way of working for a major outlet who mostly covered games, which meant I was waiting in lines. So my E3 last year was a lot of waiting in lines for several hours with other people who were members of the public and weren't press, and I was frustrated by that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it just goes to show the influence of social media and the influence of YouTubers and the growth of people who aren't traditional media, and I'm totally in support of that. Of us having people who aren't necessarily people who've studied journalism, or it gives us more diverse opinions, and I think that's really cool. And
That's
more
always
people
a
getting to
great
go to
thing.
E3 is
Yeah.
how a YouTuber goes from being someone who vlogs in their bedroom to someone who covers an event, and that's awesome.
The more diversity of opinions you have, the better critical mind you're
That's
going to have.
exactly what I was going to say.
Because there's things that I don't think about with, this, like who I am, who I was born as, and talking to other people is like, I didn't even think of that. And I was talking to Bill Trinan at the Nintendo booth, and he's like, oh yeah, a YouTuber come in and play a game for a while, and I was like, oh man, it slipped my mind that like just individuals can come by and check out these games and they have a unique perspective, like a perspective that we don't have working for big outlets.
Funny things with YouTubers is like sometimes I'll go to an event and I'll go as press, and the press will like complain about YouTubers, and I'm both, right? I have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, you have a very unique perspective of.
I've had that for a long time. So I have a YouTube channel, and I also have been a journalist for almost as long as I've had a YouTube channel. And sometimes hearing the press talk about how they feel about YouTubers, I feel like they're terrified.
Yeah,
They're really scared to lose
it's
their
because
job.
it's very clear, because it's the same way magazines talked about online.
Definitely.
They didn't understand what this was and how it was going to evolve and change.
So you go to an event and press will be like, God, I hate working alongside YouTubers. They're so obnoxious. And they're like, well, they're getting people very excited. And, maybe it's not my taste. I don't watch a whole lot of YouTubers. Don't have time because I'm press. But I feel like they are two distinctly different things, and they're two distinctly different machines. And the way that marketing is being tailored to both of those machines as well is really interesting. And E3 is just evolving to accommodate that. And I like it.
Yeah, it was interesting. I walked around the show floor quite a bit more than I did last year. Last year I was kind of in the IGN booth the whole time.
It's a very good booth, though, by the way.
It is
I should
very-
mention how
it
good
was
our
a
booth was.
lovely
Shout out to
booth.
Kirsten, who is
Go Kirsten! She is outside.
She's outside.
We're at an
Our booth is
Airbnb.
great.
If you're I don't know why you would skip to this point. In
Well,
the
I've
podcast.
downloaded the podcast. Better jump an hour and a half in.
But if you didn't catch that, we're in an Airbnb and they're out on the balcony. But anyway, go Kirsten. She's the best. She's our
She is,
PR and
yes.
events manager, and she does a phenomenal job. And anyway, so our but like walking around the E3 show floor, I saw a lot of people whose badges had companies or websites whose names I didn't recognize, but they were doing these little kind of reaction videos with high quality camera equipment, and I just thought like.
Just talk, James. It's not. You're not. This isn't NPR.
James is making
This is not a
sign
presidential
language.
address.
Do you want the mic? Oh no!
Don't talk with this.
We're getting mic
So
instructions.
there's-
Keep your mic straight.
I wasn't
here.
trying to do that. It's hard. Anyway,
trying to do that.
you know what? Listen, I was told this was the drunk episode of Beyond, and I really
James is over here, very concerned about everything, but he won't speak.
I took it to heart. And James just won't talk to me. But anyway, it's really cool to see. Basically, what I'm getting at is it's really cool to see people of all backgrounds coming to the E3 show floor. When I went in 2013, that was my first E3, and I skipped 2014, which is why I've only been to 3. But it was different even then. I didn't see as much of that. And that was just a really
See,
cool
but this
thing to notice.
this is the problem with it. This is the problem is that this
People
is
are
all.
laughing. What's going on?
Max has a boot filled with flowers. It's weird.
It was a weird thing.
It's always been there for the taking, and it's always been that if you have a blog, you can get E3 verified. And I'm talking about back in the day where people like Britt Bromrocker, Blonde Nerd, was using her IGN blog to get into things. Not saying she was IGN, just being like, I have a blog and I talk about stuff, and everybody's like.
Okay, funny you say that. That's exactly how I got in 2013.
Yeah.
I was a blogger on IGN, and I worked for my school's newspaper, and that's how I got into E3.
And the problem is that when they inevitably say, okay, E3's open to the public, they are not going to be prepared for it. Because they are going to try to make it E3, but suddenly it's going to be PAX or it's going to be PSX.
And it's also a question, do we need more of that?
I mean, is E3 grasping at straws because they're going to be scared. They're going to be concerned about it. And the problem with doing it is going to be that your jobs, my job, become infinitely harder. Because even right now, I'm late to every demo because people stop me and want photos. But, like, when it's open to everyone and all the anime fans there and are all the Unlocked Beyond, what other podcast, you're on every other podcast at IGN.
Just
all the
two.
Alanah fans are there. Like, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I'm super happy to have them there and stuff, but also because it's an industry event, like, that's the time for us to really dig into these games and try to think of them as for coverage in the future.
Totally.
And I think it's important for us to get to see as many as we can.
Yeah.
And when there's more people, we also have to wait. Like, people have this perception that we just get to cut every line.
Oh, no.
That is not the case.
I think the point is that the definition of what industry means is changing.
Okay. Oh, excuse me, Greg Miller.
You go to 10
Anyway.
they'll start being nice to you too.
I think the point is the definition of what industry means is changing. And the influence
100%.
is changing, and E3 is adapting to that, and I am, again, totally for that. It's very hard to break into the games industry because it's so competitive, because everyone wants to play games for a living, and I don't blame anyone for that.
And then you find out that you're actually not playing games for a living.
You're mostly writing and crying?
I don't play any games on the clock.
I actually get to play games because I'm on Wiki.
I do all that at home.
Every time that I see you play a game, I'm like, God, please help me. I wish I could play a game right now. God.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's how old I am. That when I started at IGN, I remember, like, oh man, all right, I'm reviewing this PSP game and kicking my feet up on my desk and playing PSP for 8 hours.
I did get to do that when I played Chronos. That
happens sometimes, right?
Because it was Oculus, though, so nobody bugged me. They're like, oh, you're in VR. We can't mess with that. It's fine.
Pick up that news story, give it to somebody else.
I haven't had that yet because I do so many different things during the day that I usually, if I'm reviewing a game, I just do that at home, which is would not recommend.
Good life-work balance.
Yeah.
Welcome to the video games industry.
Do not be me, but that's what I tell everybody. I'm like, don't be me. It's fine. But I remember a couple months ago thinking like, oh man, I got to play a game before other people did, and that is...
Or like even seeing The Legend of Zelda at E3.
Yep.
Like, I remember seeing them announcing Twilight Princess, and I was just crying at home with my parents. I was like, oh my god, it's a new Legend of Zelda. And then I'm at E3 seeing the newest Legend of Zelda. It's like, how surreal is that?
So on that note, you guys also played the only Vita game at the show, right?
Okay.
The only Vita game at the show?
Yes.
What was that?
No, there was two.
Talking about Miyamoto?
He's not a Vita game. He's a man.
I met Miyamoto today.
Marty, why are we talking about Miyamoto? I asked about the Vita game.
This is a PlayStation.
You guys.
God damn it, Marty. Oh,
you're right, Marty. You really kept the spirit of
Marty is
podcast
pointing at
alive.
me. Marty is
He's
pointing
giving
at me.
everyone the finger. God.
Oh my
this
god.
weird man.
So much.
I don't know what's going on, but I met Miyamoto today, and I'm still not over it.
Oh, no, I don't think you ever get over that kind of interaction.
I mean, he is a ray of sunshine human being. I can't get over it. Like, this is so not Sony related. I'll try to bring it back. I'll try to bring it back. But, but oh man, like, talking to him, I understand enough Japanese to, like, hear his jokes, and he, like, made this total joke about retiring, and Bill Trinan cuts in. He's like, that was a joke. In case you understand Japanese, that was totally a joke, guys. But it was amazing because just getting to talk to him about Zelda and, like, like, for me, Zelda is all about the world. It's not really about a narrative, like a strict narrative.
I feel like that's most people. I've definitely had people get mad at me about that with Zelda before, where I'm like, I don't really care about the narrative. I like playing it.
Like, most of the stories are very similar.
Hey, to tie it back to PlayStation, God of War is obviously inspired by Zelda.
Honestly, with Zelda, you cannot care about the narrative.
It's not about the end. It's about the journey. Like, whenever people say that,
all right, you're gonna get a lot of angry tweets.
No.
How about that?
But
they're right.
But it's about engrossing yourself in the world, and so talking to him about
and the Breath of the Wind. I keep saying the Breath of the Wind.
The Wild,
which makes it sound like someone woke up with bad breath.
But talking to talking to Miyamoto in the flesh about how Breath of the Wild is going to engross you not Breath of the Wind, it's going to engross you even further into this world is really important to me. But I'm going to use a really weird segue to go into the Vita game. The Vita game that Miranda and I saw a little bit today called Yomawari. It's called Night Alone. And this is another one that's very much the experience. It's basically you're playing as a young, innocent little girl who's existing in the world of monsters, and rather than fight the monsters, you have to hide.
And so it's a survival horror. And so this is so interesting because
I have so many dreams that follow that exact narrative.
Yeah, we have so many survival horrors that follow adults. Yes. And it's very rare when we are put in the perspective of a child.
A lot more vulnerability.
And you can the sound design is really interesting because you can hear her heartbeat. And the closer she gets to the monster, the harder her heart beats. And if she hides, she's safe. So it's like it's
like
interesting.
in an amnesia kind of way.
I mean, I like from what I know of Yume Nikki. If you don't know Yume Nikki, it's like this sort of indie game that's really popular in Japan. It's a procedurally generated kind of horror, not procedurally generated, but it's this like endlessly exploration, like people. Okay,
why is Zach Ryan punching his clothes?
There's something going on in a side room here. It's not procedurally generated. That's the wrong word. It's people had to go into the source code to figure out everything about this game. It's called
I love that kind of stuff.
IGN's Chloe Rad is a big fan. She couldn't be here tonight, so I'm shouting her out right now. But Yomawari reminded me of that because this is, a little girl being by herself. It's not about combat. It's about the experience. It's about going through this world and being terrified, but knowing you'll be safe if you find a bush to hide behind. So you've sold
me on that. What's the art direction like? What does it look like?
It's super cute.
She's adorable.
Creepy. That's the weird thing, right?
So in Japan, there's this kind of style called guro, which is it means gross, but it's like cutesy eyeballs and cutesy bones and stuff like that.
I'm sorry, what?
Guro.
So if you just look at us and think of our style,
if you think about Miranda and I both have a lot of clothing with skeletons and like rib cages and stuff.
Oh no, I get that.
So
okay.
that is guro.
If you say the way you dress, it makes sense. But then, how do you explain it to people who can't see?
So she's this little girl wearing a bow, but then there are these grotesque.
Kallie, what's that game Undertale? Undertale technically has characters that look creepy or would be creepy if they weren't represented in the way that they are.
So it's like if you are familiar with Undertale, it's like 10 steps above that as far as
I mean that game's kind of ugly. Let's be real.
I mean, it's ugly, but it's not like creepy ugly.
Yeah.
I love Undertale. Spoiler alert.
10 out of 10 IGN.
That was me. Woo. It's more like these horrible, like, they look like sort of like amoebas with eyes and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I think the thing that really makes them scary is like the sound of the heartbeat. It's like that intensification of that sound around you and the buildup of the tone, and like the lack of vision. I think when we were in our meeting today, like they told us about how, when you see these monsters, when your heartbeat increases, your stamina gauge goes down so much faster.
It's so fascinating.
That's really cool.
The more afraid she is, this little girl is, like the harder the game gets.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have kind of already sold me on it, but for a broader question, how do we feel about the lack of Vita at E3 this year?
I was so sad.
I was extremely sad.
Like it's a good Greg question.
Vita.
How you doing? Greg Miller here.
You got a lot of Vita fans in the house right now.
When you meet somebody like, man, I love Japanese stuff, I'm like, oh, good, the Vita, because that was what I did. Is I went and did Xseed hit me up and then I had all these games. I'm like, this isn't interesting to me. I don't care about this. And then I was like, wait a second, this game's coming to Vita? Yeah, I'll come see it. So I went and saw Akiba's Beat.
Did you check out? Did you happen to see the Fate the new Fate game?
No.
Fate Exodus, I think. Yeah. So the Vita is my home for visual novels.
Yeah, of course, because it's the best for visual novels.
And
what up, Danganronpa?
Oh my God, Danganronpa is like my number one favorite thing.
Andrew was here.
And
he shouldn't have gone home. Shouldn't have gone to sleep.
Andrew and I.
That's why Jonathon Dornbush. Now the better goal part.
Hey, you, Andrew.
They're basically the same. Andrew and I have had a lot of conversations about Danganronpa. We also saw Psychopass today, which is a visual novel based on an anime, if you don't know Psychopass.
Actually, Marty can, he's not right now, but he could talk about, he played Psychonauts in VR.
It is Fate.
That sounds super cool.
It's not a Vita game.
That's not Psychopath. That's just word association.
Okay, so Fate. It's
Which
Fate
is very vague word association.
Fate what?
Extella. I thought
Okay,
it was
so
Exodus
listen,
for some
all I
reason.
care about is that
Excuse
Saber's
me.
in it, and Saber is my ultimate waifu.
Saber is everybody's waifu. Let's just clarify that.
So if you like anime girls,
Listen,
visual
y'all are-
novels.
You guys are speaking a different language right now.
Anyway.
Okay, just pause for a second. If you like anime girls, visual novels, and cool experimental shit, get a Vita and just play some stuff.
Yeah.
But back to the question: how do we feel about the lack of Vita games that we saw at
Not
E3
unexpected.
I mean, like
It's
they're-
expected, yeah.
It's like, it's not going to be on the stage, but they exist. Like, they absolutely are there. Like, there's new visual novels and other
I mean, they're not pushing it with their marketing.
Zero.
Dude, I mean, obviously, it's awesome that you can play games that exist on the PS4 on Vita. Like The Witness works really, really well on Vita.
Ken Levine and his
and
lies.
games like Hotline Miami work really well on Vita. But how does that, the fact that there is no Vita presence or sales pitch at E3 this year, how does that fare for the Vita's future?
I think it's them admitting what the future is. It's the exact same thing of like, you can go up there and you can waste time at E3 about Vita, but it doesn't matter. You go out to PSX and you have Gio Corsi come up and you have him say, "What's up, Vita guys?" Make a joke about it not being there and talk about all these games, because there are games coming to Vita, but it is to the point that the Vita is not a growing, emerging
So you
platform.
think the Vita is kind of niche at this point?
Oh my god, I think it's been niche probably since 6 months after launch.
100%.
Yeah.
If you look at all the visual novels that have been coming to it, it's like those are the people who are fans of it. They will know that visual novels come to Vita, and then they play them there. And like,
So you guys don't think that I don't own a Vita. Do you guys think that we should be worried about the future of the Vita at this point?
I think it's gonna do its own thing.
It's been a long time
honestly,
coming. I'm one of those people that, there's a niche audience for Vita. I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Love
Me too.
Japanese. love visual novels.
We're all friends.
I know. We're like,
Should I leave?
I've reviewed a number of Vita games for IGN.
Me too.
It doesn't.
Me too.
Wow, we have so much in common.
I've reviewed so many video games.
I don't think I don't think it's like Greg said, it's not unexpected. I'm not like taking it as a sign like the Vita's dead now. Like, I know that's not true. I didn't expect it to be.
I mean, the 3DS.
So my hope
Don't
is
laugh at me.
There are still visual novels coming out in Japan on Vita, and I'm just like,
And
please.
that's the whole thing, especially in the why it works and why it is where it is the fact that the Vita speaks to that audience that does care about Japanese games. And in Japan, it is still selling well. It is still a platform that's viable. It is still getting those things. So it isn't an E3 thing because it's not Mark Hamill, it's not Star Wars, it's not God of War. Why?
It's not big enough, I guess.
100%. And it hasn't been for a long time.
They've niche. They would not show the pigeon dating sim on this information.
Oh,
However,
Sony pulled out forever ago about making good games. Freedom Wars was the last real game Sony made for the Vita.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the Vita games weren't absent at E3. I mean, they weren't put in the press conference and Sony's press conference or anything, but like they were on the show floor.
Miranda and I had only have one? Wasn't there only one on the show?
No, there was the one they saw. That I saw Akiba's Beats, and there was another one that I'm forgetting the name.
The Fate one is coming to Vita, I believe. I don't remember.
I need to check.
But I mean, like,
Listen,
what was notable about this? What was notable about this E3 in terms of the Vita and its life cycle is the fact that
Vita.
this is the first E3
I was right.
where Sony
so.
didn't have
Yay,
any
vodka.
Vitas in their thing.
Right.
You went over there and there wasn't a Vita area, nothing that was
That's
there
true.
for Vita, and that's fine again because I don't think Joe Blow consumer does care. The people who love Vita like us have their Vitas. They're done. They're in. They're importing them like I did. Or going to Japan and buying it, but you know what I mean, importing the ones they want and getting the custom, triggers and all these different things. Like, that's what it is, and that's the future. And is it dead? No, but this is what it is. It is going to be the platform I get PC games on 4 years later, and I'm like, awesome.
It's also, the Vita is a very good partner to the PS4. And, I feel like Nintendo is, at this point, trying to parallel that. And I mean, when someone...
I feel like they started that.
Yeah,
I mean, Nintendo
3DS
started that
is
with...
very much.
I mean, specifically the NX, right?
Going back to the Game Boy Advance, they were doing stuff like that. So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I understand. Like,
Dude, I remember...
I will never worry about Nintendo handhelds.
Handheld?
No.
Like they
sell so well.
Well, of course, the NX is going to be both, so it doesn't matter.
Whoa.
All right, to just throw a transition at y'all to get out of the niche.
No, let's keep talking about Vita. No, this is great. I'm in my wheelhouse right here.
But right now, I actually...
Speak it for Andrew.
Let Alanah work her magic. She's great.
I want to talk about The Lost Guardian. So we haven't spoken about that yet, and that seems insane.
That trailer made me cry, and I don't know why.
Y'all think Bird Dog's gonna die?
No.
Oh,
I don't. I haven't.
The dog always dies.
I am not.
I don't think the Bird Dog is that much of a dog.
I'm not invested in The Last Guardian, but that trailer hit me in all the right places, and I cried. I cried in our war room while I'm trying to promote the content we have about Last Guardian. I'm crying, and there's tears streaming down my face, and I couldn't figure out why. There was something about that trailer that was so evocative, and that was really promising to me.
Has anyone else here seen this game, Marty? Marty Sliva, have you seen The Last Guardian? Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, I saw and played it.
So you and I both played The Last Guardian.
Yeah.
The demo that we had at E3 was 45 minutes long.
Oh, that wasn't my demo. I was in I went into a weird booth. I think I wasn't supposed to play the game, but I did.
All right, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, man.
So
Hold on. I'm sorry, everybody. You have all been screwed by your friend and colleague.
is it Marty
Andrew
Sliva?
Goldfarb did not go to bed. He's at the JW Marriott.
Him!
Shocking nobody.
Holy shit.
Well, I'm the new Andrew Goldfarb, so
Yeah,
we
it's
don't need
fine.
to. Hey, what's up?
Absolutely.
Andrew, if you're listening, I'm very
gonna get
mad
fired
at
for
you.
that. It's cool.
It's fine. No. Who is Andrew Goldfarb?
I'm sorry, are we friends?
I was beginning with Ayn Rand novel.
sure
Who is
what it
Andrew
is.
Goldfarb?
Ayn
That's who he
Rand.
is.
Never compare me to her again.
I kind of respect her in a gross way. But yeah, so The Last Guardian, I got to play a fair bit of that. Look, I love it. I straight up love it. I try to be very critical of stuff that we see at E3, knowing that E3 is a marketing machine, right? It's something that is designed to make journalists like it so that they will write really positive things about it. The Last Guardian, the way that demo started is that you wake up next to Trico, the bird dog, and it kind of tries to eat you a little bit.
Bird dog.
You have
He
to
tries to nibble on you.
you have to give it food, which is, I'm not even going to go into how weird its food is. And then you have to like break it out of its chains, and it has to help you through puzzles in that game. And the companionship in that, the fear of that thing that is, the scale of it is, it's so much bigger than you. That is automatically intimidating, but then you kind of win it over with food, as is, most interactions in life.
I mean,
if you buy me food, you're probably going to win me over.
That's the realest shit ever, Alanah.
Yeah.
Okay.
James Faulkner is dying laughing right
Also,
now.
I don't know if we've called him out yet, but James Faulkner has been our man on the
Bro,
mics
do you
all
like
night.
food?
Do you like food?
He said, I like food.
He
That's exactly how he said it.
very weakly said, "I like
Also,
food."
IGN podcasts will very rarely have people listening to them live, like a producer listening to them live.
No, he is listening to it live.
This is as I mentioned last year, this is a tradition that goes back to OneUp.com. This is what Andrew Pfister, Skip Pfister did.
Back to The Last Guardian, though.
The Wheels of Steel.
I feel so bad for James. I'm sorry, James. Anyway.
we're fine.
No, it's fine.
We literally have wheels on this this recording device.
Nice.
Okay,
Respect
Wheels
that.
of Steel.
Anyway.
So I played it, and part of the appeal to me was, just the intimidation of the bird dog or Trico, and then the companionship that grows out of that and spawns out of that, and the use in puzzles. We've spoken about this on the post show, but the main character of The Last Guardian, which I keep wanting to call Project Trico, The Last Guardian is. He or she, I don't even know at this point, looks very...
It's a young boy.
I think it's a young boy. Looks very out of place in the world.
Yeah, he's an anachronism.
He is cel-shaded, and the rest of the world is not. And the way that this happens is it's narrated, and it's narrated in a fictional language. Mm-hmm. So the whole thing is presumably subtitled, which wouldn't be, that's happened before. Shadows of Colossus, that's a thing.
No, I mean their entire thing has been fictional languages, and then it was, if you beat Eco, you can replay it and actually hear what Yorda said via subtitles, right?
Yeah. So that's happened before, but it's basically the young boy wakes up next to this giant bird dog, which he refers to as a monster, I think, multiple times.
Bad dog.
Yes,
Bad
it is
dog.
referred to as the monster.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like it might be some kind of dream world, maybe.
I mean, a dream world, but the thing is, we found from our IGN First, which Cam Shea, our amazing editor in Australia, figured out.
What up, Australia? Shout out.
Shout out to Australia.
homeland.
Alanah never
Fires.
worked at IGN.
On your back.
The game is presented in a framing device where the narrator is the main character from way in the future. He's telling the story.
He's retelling something.
Yeah, he's absolutely retelling it. And I found that really interesting. But yeah, I completely agree that his visual style is an anachronism.
I mean, it's inconsistent, but not in an intrusive way.
Yes, but in a It's not intrusive, but it's noticeable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We also, in the trailer that was at the Sony press conference, saw more extensive combat for the first time.
Oh, how's that?
So we saw some enemies. Honestly, I got Zelda vibes.
Yeah.
And it was basically like you saw the main character. I'm still not sure what he's referred to as, but he like crawled under
Karen.
a door. What?
Karen.
Karen?
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 Karen.
Are you
Karen?
Yes, I'm lying.
Like,
Marty Sliva's fifth line today.
When we
I
predicted...
thought you were being serious.
No, he lies
months
all
ago
the
we
time.
predicted that
I'm so concerned with how good Marty is at lying. It's awful.
Thanks, man. It means a lot to me.
No, it's terrible.
Months ago we predicted that God of War 4 would be Norse mythology, but it would be the goddess of war. And
We
what
were
was her
wrong.
name going to be?
Karen.
So the last
Obviously Karen.
Yeah.
Shout out to Brian
Nailed
Altano
it.
who passed away tonight
All right.
quick
at the tender
thing.
age of 47.
I
I
love
feel like
Norse
that's a lie.
mythology.
I feel like
I'm
that
so
might-
excited. I know you already talked about God of War, but I'm so excited.
Me.
No, I'm totally fine with
Live his
you guys.
life like an autumnal in the wind.
So anyway,
Oh my God.
we don't know the main character's name just yet.
Karen.
But
You're nameless.
probably not Karen.
Well, you're nameless. I guess you're Wander in Shadow of the Colossus, but you're nameless in Ika.
Yeah, you're right. And it could.
Or are
remain
you
nameless.
Eco?
What?
It's been so long.
Yeah, I haven't played it.
Shadow of the Colossus is what. Get us
Maybe
out
a
of here,
fan
Alanah.
joins you.
So Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, get us to Crash.
We can't talk about Crash if you guys want. I played as Crash today.
I would love that.
Oh my
Okay, so wait,
God.
Last Guardian is coming out in October. We're very excited. We're going to do more about that. Crash, Alanah, Jonathan, go.
as Crash.
I played as Crash
Oh
in
my
Skylanders.
God.
All right. I've spoken about this on Beyond before, but I was going to swear. I really
You can swear.
like-
It literally doesn't matter at this
I
point.
f***ing love Skylanders. And the reason is because I'm a huge Diablo fan.
Yeah.
I've played Diablo for... Since Diablo 2, I played the shit out of that. And I love Diablo. And I play Skylanders like Diablo with one character where I just level it up instead of buying all of them. So that's the reason I like Skylanders. It's Diablo Light. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I love it. So having Crash in Skylanders Imaginators, which is the 2016 version of Skylanders, the way that I played that today, I played for a pretty long time. We did get a bunch of gameplay that we recorded, so that'll be up on IGN sometime next week, hopefully. The animations are perfect. When you walk slowly, it is Crash doing that cool, skip thing. Right now, I'm emoting it, but there's no camera, so you can't
Yeah,
see
so
it.
Alana's currently walking,
Doing a cool airwalk.
Yeah, that's not a cool airwalk.
Well, I thought it was pretty cool.
Okay, sorry.
I spoke into my drink and not. Lana was sitting
It's been a
down.
long week.
long
But it's
night.
also the original voice actor, which is a strange thing. I don't remember Crash
If there's
having
one
voice
thing I
acting
remember
so
Crash for,
distinctly,
it's his
right?
voice.
I mean, that was the thing.
Yes.
Is I came back to the war room and Alana was like, "Oh, they got the original voice actor," and I'm like, "Did Crash?"
What does that
It's,
mean?
it's
No,
Kiefer
Crash
Sutherland
makes noise.
is the
It's
voice
not
What?
Kiefer Sutherland.
Alana, you've been really good at making noises on podcasts. What kind of noises does
Look,
Crash
honestly,
make?
Crash kind of sounds like SpongeBob.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
ugh, that kind of. Yep.
Wait, that's. Wait. Okay, wait. That was a lot of different characters.
Yep.
Back.
So anyway, Crash Bandicoot was...
Peaches got it. Oh, did I win?
We should stop. We
chased
should really
chickens.
stop. It sounds awful in a microphone.
All of this
Sorry,
sounds
Matt.
terrible in a microphone.
Yes, that just happened for a little bit there.
I mean, someone's probably getting
So
off of
Crash
this.
sounds like Crash, and the animation is beautiful, and it's also Crash is a sensei. So Skylanders Imaginators is based on you being able to create your own character. The character creation menu is super extensive. You can customize absolutely everything, every single color, and you can make whatever the hell you want. And as you play through the game, you unlock more parts. Like while I was playing, the dev who was sitting next to me was like, "Oh, I haven't seen someone unlock that before." So, I mean, it's all ridiculous stuff. But one of the things I unlocked was Crash arms. So basically, you could have any character you wanted, and you could
Crash's
tailor.
arms.
Yeah. You could tailor the character that you've already made, and you can customize it on the fly to have Crash Bandicoot's arms.
Hi folks, this is the editor. We had an audio issue during the show, but you didn't miss much. The gang talked about how Skylanders Imaginators is kind of like collecting Pokemon. Now back to the show. Beyond.
So we just had a bit of an audio issue there, but wrap up, Skylanders and Crash is awesome, but how does everyone feel about Crash being remastered.
I cannot wait. I will replay all 3 of those games.
Why?
I do every couple of years, honestly. They are a part of like my foundation of how I got into games, the Crash series, and so they have their flaws. I don't deny that, but I love them so much.
There are games that I play on my birthday every single year because I'm like, this game is such a comfort for me.
Is
and
one of them Banjo?
One of them is Banjo. One of them is Fable, and one of them is Crash.
Nice, yeah. Crash it's what my mom played.
Did you play Uncharted 4?
Yeah.
Did you like the Crash cameo? How great was that, right?
I cried.
Yeah. That was so good.
Little baby.
Seeing like Alanah and Nathan Drake play Crash Bandicoot.
Seriously, that was such a...
That was
When we saw that in the office for the first time, we were
Everyone
so
crowded
excited.
around, and we all watched it.
God,
that was so exciting.
I had to pause the game and take a few seconds to like collect myself.
Yeah.
At this point, look, I don't think that a modern Crash game is going to happen, and I feel like Skyland is probably the closest to that we will get. Right? I don't think that an authentic Crash game exists in 2016, but remasters are totally satisfying to everyone who's a huge Crash fan and has been for a really long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So transitioning from
to totally
the old, what is
that?
Something broken, something borrowed, something new.
How do y'all feel about Horizon?
I don't understand.
Yep, just keep going.
Greg Miller is back.
Hey, what's up? It's me, Greg.
Hey, we're going to talk about Horizon.
Oh, you mean Kinda Funny's game of the show?
It's also my game of the show, for the record. I love Horizon.
Have you ever thought about leaving IGN and going to work for Spare Better?
I have, no. So anyway,
I only saw...
whoa. That's... All right. No, Horizon Zero Dawn is...
Awesome.
In a weird way, it reminded me of Zelda.
But it's better, right? That everybody, all the people I talked to who were like, man, Zelda was fun, but it was a mistake playing it right after Horizon.
I actually played it the other way around, so I guess it was like they paralleled each other, and yeah, I could see that happening. But Horizon Zero Dawn it's beautiful. Right. It's a very pretty game, and it's a very foreign world. We have really open fields that are almost like Skyrim-esque, but we have these robo-dinosaurs. What was the code name that you invented for them, Marty?
I call them Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs. I like it. It's
Please
good.
leave the room now.
No, I like it. Nope.
I'll leave.
What about just, as long as both of us aren't in the room.
Fight to the death.
Just jump out the window.
So those are... I mean, most of them are just supposed to be inspired by animals, but the idea is that they have overtaken humans, and humans now have these tribes that are really like walled-off locations that basically are designed to avoid the cool dinosaurs.
Yeah, I mean, it almost feels like Attack on Titan if you watch anime.
Anime.
If you watch it, I feel like civilization is walled off into a very specific section of the world, and that the rest of humanity the rest of the world is filled with these robo-dinos who have really interesting like power packs.
They all also have really distinct purposes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I mentioned to you before that I think that this game is a parallel to Lost. I specifically mentioned that because a lot of Marty loves
because
Lost.
that's how you know I will answer one of your texts.
Yeah, otherwise just nothing. It's just radio silence all the time. But it's like everyone who is human is very religious. Yeah. In this game, except for our protagonist. Aloy.
Aloy.
One of the two. So she is repeatedly reinforced as being an outcast in human society now, and they do have various tribes, but they all seem to kind of work together. And she is not religious, but everyone else is just like, oh, pray to the goddess that we will be saved. And she's like, that's not going to help us at all. I would prefer to go, save the people whose lives are at stake. Yeah. So she kind of goes out into the world and tries to figure out what the root of some of the problems is. And if anyone's listening is a Studio Ghibli fan, I get huge Princess Mononoke vibes.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Which I love.
Yeah, that's totally great.
Mononoke is a great movie. Like, that's...
Of course.
And some of these... robots, I still don't really know what to call them because they're like, no, they're just inspired by
I already said dinosaurs.
Some of these dinosaurs,
Greg,
they have like a poison,
yes,
like a venom, I think it's referred to as. So some of them are corrupted, which is also very Mononoke.
What I can't wait, this is another game where I'm fascinated about the world.
Yeah.
And the fact that I guess it was. They said in the demo, right? It was 20 years ago. We were living in peace pretty much with these things. There were animals, they're predators, but they weren't really screwing with Americans.
I think they were just kind of combing for resources.
Right. Yeah. And so, but then all of a sudden, they started getting corrupted and coming at you, and so there's this new machine that's going around corrupting these things to then go after you. And so it's like, why is that happening? Let alone what happened to the old world, which is our world. Our world is they call us the old timers or whatever. Like our civilization has been gone for so long. I want to know what's happening. In that trailer they showed at E3, or I guess actually leading up to E3. There's that scene of her
narrative trailer?
Yeah. There's that scene where she goes down and like the doors open and it's like blinding white light. And I
love that.
She's got to be walking into a facility, right? That's making all these things.
Yeah. So it's like she walks up to this door. It like scans her, and I don't remember exactly what it says, but it's something like, yeah, you're allowed in. And basically, that is what gave me the specific Lost vibes. It's like, what the hell is
I have to imagine. I mean, my hope is she walks in there and it's pristine, and there's people who look just like us in like white lab coats walking around like, oh, hello, and I have to figure out what's happening.
Yeah.
I have a minor concern in that I'm worried about how quickly that game will give away those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I hope that you don't find out, all of the narrative elements until later on in the game. But to tie you over in the meantime, the combat is rad.
Yeah, right? It's a lot of fun to play.
I mean, Greg, you, Colin, Tim, and Nick gave it the show this year. So, like, what was it about that really wowed you?
No, it's the fact of, like, everything they're saying about the story is right. Everything you see about the game is right. Colin went and played it and came back and just talked about how it feels right, the way all the systems work, the way of, like, we're just going to go off and get a quest and go do this. Talking to Herman on our show, it was like he's talking about the fact that I was like, so what was it like making this vertical slice? Oh, this isn't a vertical slice. This is the game. Yeah. We just decided to pick up from this point and go do this.
Also, can I just mention how great mounts are?
Mounts? Oh, mounts are...
Basically, any game that has mounts, I'm like, yeah, dog.
Big fan of mounting.
I'm going to
ride
that
mention how great
shit?
Ashley Birch is? And who, even though they refuse to confirm that's
right?
her,
I was like, hey. I had a behind closed doors thing, and I was like, hey, is that voice actor actually Birch? Mm-hmm. Because I originally thought Laura Bailey from that trailer.
We thought in the first trailer.
When I was behind closed doors and we heard more, I was like, that's totally Ashley Birch. And they were like, we can't comment on
exactly.
that.
That's Herman did that in the show, too.
We're
not ready to announce that. I'm like, well, that's
also,
Chloe, so I don't know what you want me to do. Like,
she's great, right?
Oh my
I love
God,
her
she's
so
amazing.
much.
She's
great. I did have a couple of issues with that narrative trailer that they keep referring to Aloy as an outcast.
Yeah.
Like 5 times in a very small amount of time. It's like, hey, Aloy, she's an outcast. She's different from the rest of society. I'm like, you're pushing that way too hard.
They just want to let you know, though. They just want to make sure you understand that.
You could say it once and I would get it, right?
Are they pushing the religious aspect, though, at all? Like, outside of just the setup? Because that sort of fascinates me.
The way that they deal with the religious stuff, I like. Yeah. It's basically that every other human has effectively kind of given up in a strange way, and they don't want Aloy to go outside of the camps and deal with the problems, but she has this really strong moral code that's like, no, I have to go. There are people in trouble. People might die. I have to attend to that. And obviously that's super respectable, but everyone's like, okay, well, I wish you wouldn't, but may the goddess be with you. And they all reinforce that. Pretty like-minded in all of the tribes. Okay. Everyone seems to kind of go with that. And I don't know how that's going to tie into the narrative in the long run either. Mm-hmm. It's a very strong concept of religion. It's very blatant. Yeah. And, our protagonist doesn't have that, and I almost feel like that's kind of a subtle statement. Mm-hmm. Like, why is she not religious when everyone else is? Is it because she's an outcast? Does anyone else have comment on that?
I mean, that's what you assume that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
She's the one who's breaking away from the traditional thinking and doing all these different things.
Yeah, and I hope that they just don't make her too obnoxious for that,
Yeah, but that's also, like, I think one of the most exciting things about Horizon to me is that the fact that it's, next spring is really good.
Yeah.
There's so
When's it coming out?
Holy hell. February?
So when you say spring, I'm like, I'm from Australia. I don't know what you mean.
2 weeks, and then move on to Horizon.
Persona and For Honor and that, and maybe Zelda and Mass Effect. Like,
I mean, I feel like...
okay, really, Marty?
Mass Effect?
Valentine's
you think Mass Effect's coming in the spring of next year?
That's what they say. Okay, so first off, Greg, I don't know if we've ever had this conversation.
How much money would you like to put on it right now?
I've never played a Mass Effect before.
I do not like. Please leave.
I've literally
never.
Like Uncharted? But I'm going to as soon.
Sorry, no,
what?
You don't like Mass Effect. Is my question.
No, I love Mass Effect.
Okay, good.
He just said he's never played a Mass Effect.
No, he hasn't.
I'm going to start as soon as we get back to San Francisco.
We should do a Let's Play.
We're going to do Let's Plays. We've already talked about this.
Just start with 2. Number 1 was really weak.
What? How often do I lie to you?
What?
It's true.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring my save. We'll do Let's Plays, Alanah. Also, I'll go to Greg. And Greg and I will do Let's Plays.
But Greg doesn't like
do
Mass Effect
2
1.
Let's Plays with me.
So
Can we? Please?
Yes, 1,000%.
Yeah.
But he's not invited to the Mass Effect 1, which is, by the way, the
because
best
this game's
game.
not that great.
No, by the way, Mass Effect 1 is the best game.
I'm
James is trying to give me a
talking
high
to you.
five right now, but I
guess
can't because I'm holding a
XP.
mic in one hand and a drink in the other.
That's like
Back
a real
to
rapper
Horizon,
thing.
though. The combat is rad.
Tell me all about it.
There are various different types of arrows, which are all awesome.
I have to interrupt. I'm willing to wager $100 that Marty does not play a single Mass Effect when he gets back into town. No way.
I don't think anyone here is going to argue that with you.
If he doesn't, I've never played Mass Effect either, so I'll take
What?
that.
Marty.
Yeah, I've never played Mass Effect.
All right, both
I'll let
need
you
to leave.
pick. I'll let you pick the dollar amount, and I will bet you that Mass Effect does not come out in the spring of 2017.
Man.
And I'm saying you can say as much as you want.
I mean, the thing is, Zach
It's
is...
EA, though, man. Like, sometimes they just release stuff when it's not done. Like, let's be real.
The thing about Zach's bet is that the only reason I double down into bets is out of spite. And the fact that he doesn't think I'll do it means I'll
Hey,
do
do
it.
you remember that time that you said that Red Dead would be announced at the PlayStation conference and they would bring an actual horse on stage?
You,
None of that
You
happened.
said that?
Yeah.
I
Dumb,
said...
man, what a dumb prediction.
Maybe
Right?
you listened because you get your podcast confused. I said it was
Like you
going to be
said on
announced
Unlocked?
at the Microsoft conference.
Sorry. You were very interchangeable.
Also, you're all terrible people. Moving on.
Really? No, I actually really want to
Any
just talk
dollar
about...
amount, any dollar amount you want for this Mass Effect.
Moving
bet.
on to the next video game. We got a couple more
please,
video
can we
games.
please
Marty,
talk about Horizon
Marty,
Combat?
Okay, I mean, yes, okay, talk
right,
about Horizon
first.
Combat.
Marty, any
Dollar
dollar amount
value.
for all of 2017.
Yes.
All right. Son,
Insider knowledge, yes, I will bet you that dollar amount.
how much is the dollar amount, though?
I have so few dollars.
No, you have to give a
Well,
dollar
maybe
amount. If
gentleman's bet
it's
of $10.
$2, it's fine.
It could be a night at Wing Wings.
I'll subscribe to your Patreon.
You can do that at any price.
Do the $1.
Do we get like a cool episode? Can I be on one of the episodes?
Sure.
For $1? Sure. Yeah.
Good.
All right.
We did it.
So,
wanna
Horizon
quit.
What do
Zero
I get when I
Dawn.
win?
No, you get nothing out of this deal.
Oh,
I'm
man.
I
very-
get a good tweet. A really well
Hey,
written tweet.
Greg is fine.
Okay, Alanah.
I
combat.
really want to talk about the Horizon Zero Dawn combat
fucking talk
because
about
that
it.
is a huge highlight for me. There are several different arrow types. So everything I played basically had a bow and also had like some kind of bomb.
People love bows. People love bombs.
Also,
So-
bitches love bows.
The bow is
Rest in peace.
very easy to learn to use, and it feels, I don't know, I really want to say like Far Cry, like it's the only game that's ever had a bow, and that's not correct.
That
But
was the first game.
the first game to ever have a bow
Yeah, incredible.
was Far Cry?
Yeah, I know.
Damn, dog.
Yeah, I know.
Gee. I didn't finish it with a T, so it's fine.
I had a
The bow was
bow
awesome.
in the Link to the Past.
Link to the Past is great. Also, that's
the
a,
Zelda.
wait, we're talking about Horizon, man. Come on.
Okay,
So there are several different bow types. We've seen in the demos that we've seen at E3, probably too much that rope bow that basically ties.
The rope launcher.
Yes, the rope launcher that basically ties a Dornosaur to the ground so that you can either mount it or overtake it or whatever, and that is really effective in combat. There's also a lot of fire. There's basically elemental arrow types, which I really love. But there's also things that you can kind of throw that have an area of effect that affect different things in different ways, and each enemy in Horizon Zero Dawn has a different weakness, which is displayed openly because you have like an eagle vision.
What about that
what do
game with
y'all
all the
want
zombies? Hey,
Days
Greg,
Gone.
Sony Bend finally announced their
Eric
fucking
Jensen,
game.
you son of a...
All right, I'm gone again.
Off the
How
bench,
is that
taking a
possible?
swing.
Jonathan,
Guys.
That's what happens when you
Be a gold
you take
farm.
that many
Hang
years
on.
off. You get to come back with a game.
Hey, guys.
Persona.
I think Days Gone looks boring.
Okay.
Wow. I mean,
Why would I?
On your bike.
on your bike?
Hey, everyone, that's an Australian insult that means GTFO effectively, and I've started saying on your bike a lot more. And Marty, can you say it? I say
your bike?
I say on your bike. You say
On
it.
your bike?
You sounds.
Oi, Governor, get on your bike, why don't you?
Pip pip.
Greg,
No,
Days
let's
Gone?
not. Zach will get really mad
Greg,
if we start
Days
doing
Gone.
accents again.
Alanah, just stop it. Greg and I are talking about a game.
Okay, go.
Hey, Marty, you want to talk about Days Gone?
I'm interested
Yeah, I
in
want to
Days
talk about
Gone.
Days Gone.
What do you want to know about Days Gone?
I mean, Sony Bend announced their game, which is a sort of 28 Days Later / World War Z.
Is it though?
Zombie game. Shut up.
But they're not zombies, and they get John Garvin
I don't
gets really
want anyone
upset.
to tell me that they're not
they're
zombies.
just
They're
people who've been
freakers.
infected by something.
They're called freakers?
Yeah, they're called freakers.
Okay.
Won't believe.
Thank you,
Well,
Andrew
it doesn't
Goldfarb.
seem like
You're
that's
welcome.
going over well.
Thank you.
Persona.
How do y'all feel about dogs?
But also, okay, so like getting the things right out of the way, I love the Pacific Northwest setting.
Yeah.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
Totally unique as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally unique. And Bend is one of those studios that gets it. It's not like
And Ben have been working on this for at least 3 years.
since Golden
Golden
Abyss
Abyss
was
was the
the
last
last
game.
beta launch.
We do know that there's been reports that there were, they went to work on a couple other things that didn't pan out, Vita games, this, that, the other. So,
Yeah.
it wasn't like they jumped right to this, but yeah, they've been cooking on this for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was an open world zombie apocalyptic survival game where you're a biker named Deacon.
Yep.
And
Nashville
Norman
co-op.
Reedus, the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, so Norman Reedus
This
the game.
biker hates the zombies.
I mean, you kind of agree with me, Max, that this was like a low light of the Sony press conference for me, and that it looked like a zombie game, and that's it.
This game is going to do great. Like people are going to love it. Again, as I've said earlier in this podcast, I don't watch The Walking Dead. A lot of people still do. People love
Yes,
it. People are glued to zombie
What up,
zombie
Kallie?
stuff. Shout out to people who like zombie stuff. That's awesome. We already have Walking Dead. Like we already have Last of Us. Like I feel like this is.
What is this ad that's new to the
This
genre?
is the most beautiful birthday cake anyone's ever given to me. But my birthday was 6 weeks ago.
Sure.
Like, I don't know. It's not.
I totally get looking
Yeah.
at the demo. The demo is very much, hey, look at this horde. Look at how many people come at you.
And it
Look
was
at all these
also a
different things.
horde that died very quickly.
Also, they're calling
that
them
was the-
freakers, which makes me want to put on my Jinkos and my sick-ass
Oh, man.
Oakley's dog.
You go to
and then
raves?
go listen to Break Stuff.
You want to go
by
to
Limp
raves?
Bizkit.
Y'all rave in your spare time?
What?
Raves?
Just one of them days.
I guess I love
Alana's only context for the 90s was raves because, Australian history books only cover so many things.
Yeah, we were only founded in the 90s. So
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, no, it's most the spider fires caused most of the history
Spider
books to be
You're absolutely
eviscerated.
So
The
Days
Kangaroo
Gone
Wars.
to me, I always try really hard to take myself out of this, but I don't know if it's that the Microsoft press conference was first and had 2 zombie games. That it was like,
State
wow,
of Decay 2, yeah!
I love State of Decay. But it was also like I'm kind of exhausted, and none of this looks unique. And I guess part of it was like the hordes were huge, Dead Rising level hordes, which is obviously an Xbox exclusive, but the first game when that came out boasted having more NPCs on screen than any other game ever, which is awesome. But it's just that. But it's just that the hordes were so easily shot down and killed.
Yeah.
That what is the point of having so many of them if they're not that intimidating?
The thing about it is, the thing about it was that it's a demo to show their tech. That we have the World War Z, we have this thing, but they did interesting things with it in terms of, in the bad way. We've dumbed down the AI. Where clearly those hordes, they were on them at some point, but they were turning to shoot and do this. We're in the behind closed doors demo. It's like you have 800 bullets, and it's like, well, you don't. This is an open world game. You can assume you've unlocked that ability or da da da. It was the thing of here's how cool our tech is. Here's how pretty our game is. But I'm with you in the fact that you can easily look at it and be like, well, that looks boring. That looks easy. What was the challenge? What was the drama? And I think it's going to be different playing it.
So. To elaborate that, why do you think it's going to be different in playing it? Did they say something to you specifically?
No, I'm just saying because I think we've all played video games. We understand the progression.
What? You played a video game?
Yeah, once or twice.
Damn,
I think
don't know,
that
man.
That's
the
legit.
argument, the behind closed doors demo where they're talking about it is this is a high level mission. This isn't where you'd start. When you start, it wouldn't be this easy to do, and so you're going through and you're leveling up and you're getting to that point.
Okay, so it's supposed to be like a late game demo.
Exactly, but it's the presentation is what it all comes down to. So there's totally a thing of just watch it, and it does just look like, oh, it's Last of Us. That's more action based.
With stuff at E3, I really like the introduction trailer that we had, but the gameplay demo, it was like, if you're going to show me something, why did you show me this?
My big worry with it was that it was this gorgeous open world sort of setting, and all the zombies started coming in, and it felt like it should have been scripted, but he was just taking all of the cues that he knew as someone who played the game.
I think it's going to be linear, yes.
No, I mean the game is open world.
Oh.
The game is absolutely open world. They have told me the game is open world.
No, the big part of it is the demo. The deal with the Freakers is right that they sleep during the day, come out at night. So what we were doing in this demo is at dusk. So they're starting to wake up and do it. Okay. But the thing they talked about is that you could see this mission and be like, this is going to be hard. I need strategy. Go fuck off. Come back and okay, it's daytime. Set up all these traps. Do all these different things. And like the thing that they talked about in my demo is that the fact that somebody in the crowd asked, like, why would you even bother with this? Why wouldn't you run back to your bike and go? Mm-hmm. And I guess the mission objective for success is to clear out the horde from this section. And so if you wanted to be strategic,
what's alluring about that over other games?
I'm sorry, one more time.
What is alluring about just clearing out a horde over other games?
I mean, what's alluring about every Ubisoft game of take over this thing?
You know what? If you talk about a Ubisoft game, then that's a whole other thing.
I'm just saying. I mean, I don't have the answers. I'm not making the game. I'm just saying, like that. There is a strategy. It is open world. Time of day matters. There's different things to it. Yeah. It's deeper than what it looks like. Because what it looks like,
I guess they didn't show that.
I have a million bullets and I can just fucking mow these down. But clearly, it ends in a way. Well, that's a losing situation. That was just built for that demo.
So, from a narrative perspective, what are we expecting from Days Gone?
I mean, I'm expecting actually kind of a cool story. We saw that opening cinematic trailer with Deacon, and he was talking about like everything he's lost before he's like entered this, and I really do feel like there's going to be, I don't know, interesting characters with weird angles and people who have lost things.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how they're. I mean, like think about this. Is always the thing where you talk about like Colin always has this thing where he's talking about like if we got invaded. He always wants to write this fiction where if we got invaded by another country and it was Red Dawn again, of course he would. But he has this vision of like cops fighting alongside the Bloods and the Crips and all these people, right? Of like we have a unified enemy.
Man, Alanah, you're gonna love Colin when you meet him.
And so this is a similar thing of like what does a motorcycle club, what does a gang look like when all hell breaks loose and they have this story about rather than whatever. What does Sons of Anarchy look like when there's a zombie apocalypse?
Guns?
Motorcycles? Yeah.
Norman Reed is probably naked.
Greets, everyone. Zach Ryan.
Hey, greets.
Zach Ryan from IGN here. I'm swaying in here, and I think we are going to see lots of motorcycles, lots of zombies in this game. So,
thank you very much.
Is that good?
Yes.
Just yes or no? Okay,
yeah,
yes.
Solid,
all right.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the idea of motorcycles are weirdly unique right now. Like which sounds really dumb, but like
two wheels.
A lot of
games
don't have motorcycles.
I mean, did you do because nobody's bringing back Road Rash, which I keep pushing Cliffy B to do. But if you in the behind closed doors when they have the HUD up, there's a thing about like how much gas you have.
Yeah.
There's a thing about like
right.
Were we not supposed to talk about that?
Can I just
I was not told not to talk about it.
You guys obviously how much played.
Man, how much treat you guys weird?
How much of how much of an impression did you get for the survival aspects of the game?
Oh, none. I mean, like, the whole game. I mean, like they talk about that. You know, you in the behind closed doors demo, he pulls up, Deacon gets off, he goes in his bag and gets some on his motorcycle, gets some stuff to go out and go do it. I mean, like, you assume it's there. Because they craft Molotovs at one point.
If it's a game that's about crafting Molotovs and mowing down zombies, not very interested in it at all. But if it's a game that's like The Road, the game,
well, that's Last of Us.
Well, sort of. But you don't necessarily scavenge as much in The Last of Us.
Yeah, you do.
Well,
entirely? That's like that entire game.
Yeah, Bert.
Hey, I'm going to open this door. I'm going to craft some shit.
But I found
one bullet and a piece of broken scissors. Great.
No, but I'm talking about like yes, you can craft out of weapons in The Last of Us. But I'm talking about like finding food, finding resources, finding gas, like for your motorcycle.
So I guess
like that kind of stuff.
Our grinding point here is we don't know.
Super interesting to me.
We don't know what it's going to be. And
I think this game's a ways off.
You know what I want it to be? I want it to be like Ride to Hell Retribution. Isn't that a great game?
Oh yeah.
To be that. I want it to be like.
You don't like motorbikes?
You mean that game that you've played only, not any of the rest of us?
Oh,
no, we did a Let's Play. I wanted to be like
Game of the Year.
I want it to be like Loco Cycle and just like aggressively racist.
Yikes.
Ay Dios mío. Ay Dios mío. Transitioning into another game, Zach. No, Miranda,
Goodbye,
please
Miranda,
don't.
I'm so sorry.
Zach, I'm glad you're here because one other game I want to talk about that was that, which I think might have made history. Greg, you would, if anyone in this room, you might be able to correct me if I'm wrong. The first game to be on stage at both Sony and Microsoft at an E3 conference, Final Fantasy 15. Can you remember a time where another game has been on stage at both of those? There have been plenty of Ubisoft EA games that have been on one of the...
Assassin's Creed is in Ubisoft.
Yeah,
and it's
totally.
on,
But can we talk about how awful it was at the Xbox conference?
Yo.
Yeah.
I mean, that was
That
rough.
looked
Yeah, okay,
so
so that was...
bad.
I mean...
On Sony, it looked great.
I mean, the Sony trailer looked incredible. It was
Let's
a
do a
sizzle
live
reel.
gameplay demo of you dashing through this hand so your friends come save you.
Basically, on the Microsoft conference, it seemed like a guy who was very nervous to be playing the game live.
Yeah.
And it was a boss fight, and the scale was still very impressive.
And playing
Marty
games
and
live is very terrifying.
Yeah, and
as
Marty and I played that demo, and to be fair, like, it's not an easy demo. It is like I feel a very odd choice for them to bring that specific demo to E3 to showcase their battle system.
You guys went to Japan to see Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Why did they choose that demo over anything else?
I think they chose that to convey a real sense of scale. I think that's one of the things that they really wanted.
So you wanted to be like, yeah, we still have huge
like,
boss
hey,
fights.
you'll be fighting these giant bosses, and I'm just not sure that was. It's an interesting fight when you're in the demo itself, but that stage demo, I mean,
To
Marty
jump
and
in
I,
and be like, because it was like, oh my god, the scale's awesome.
yeah,
The
well, so
gameplay
that's
was
what I
like-
said. It was like the first.
That was the problem, yeah.
The first
exactly.
30 seconds of that demo were amazing because you see the boss and you're like, holy cow, I'm going to take on giant enemies in this game.
got
And then
awkward
it's
in
like,
the end.
oh no, the combat is not
But
great.
to
But
totally
that,
parallel that, the way that it looked at the PlayStation press conference, I mean, we have on the E3 show floor, people can sit on top of a giant chocobo and take photos with it, which is just the coolest thing ever. Also, there's writing and there's a PSVR component. Did anyone get to check that out?
I didn't do the VR stuff.
No,
None of us did?
but anecdotally, I heard it's not great.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought from watching it in the PlayStation conference, I was like, ooh, no.
I just thought it would be so down with
nobody
having
wants to play as
Final Fantasy in
Pronto.
VR, but
I want to play.
I mean, yeah, the two of you, Zach and Marty, have seen more of Final Fantasy than pretty much
Yeah.
probably
anyone at this point.
in the country.
Yeah.
So, you
And
know,
that's
give
the
us
thing
a
is,
feel.
like, I do think that this is a great game. I
Yes.
think that, like, the amount that I've seen, the hands-on time that I've had with it, I do think it is going to be a really great game. That particular stage demo, Tabata-san walked out on stage, and Marty and I and Andrew looked at each other like, oh, hey, this is going to be great. And then, like, halfway through the demo, we all looked at each other like, oh no, this is not very good at all.
To jump out of the Microsoft press conference, which I think we can all pretty much acknowledge that the Final Fantasy demo that was not good. The
Right.
No, it wasn't a
PlayStation
great
one
showing.
PlayStation 1 was much
pretty
better.
good, though.
That was
It was
a
fairly
really
cinematic.
rad sizzle reel.
Yeah.
It was a sizzle reel, absolutely. Do you feel like that is authentic to how the game is?
Yes, I mean, I've sat down and I've played the game for hours on end. And it's a game that has like a bit of a learning curve in terms of getting used to its...
Isn't that kind of all RPGs? There's a learning curve.
And also all games. Like,
Sure, yeah.
I don't know. Is there a video game, maybe Super Mario Brothers is the only game where you can get it in 5 seconds, you're like, I understand every mechanic of this game.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So
Tetris,
I kind
Taco
of have...
Master.
I kind of have the impression that Final Fantasy
Great video
is...
game. You wouldn't know anything about it. Easy Platinum. You wouldn't know anything about it.
Because y'all don't care about trophies, is what he's saying. But anyway, I feel like this might be kind of the return of Final Fantasy.
Oh, totally.
Obviously, people still play every single Final
according to
Fantasy
that demo.
game, but what I want to say is this might be the thing that makes it mainstream again. You know, it hasn't been probably since 10.
The question though is like, it has the chance. It like, you know, they did the whole thing of like, we're going for fans and non-fans, and I'm interested as a non-fan. But my problem, I feel, is it's very much in the Last Guardian situation of like, this game's taken forever to come out.
So,
and when
and
it finally gets there and it's not...
It's September,
That's
right?
the situation
This
with both of
giant
these
thing.
games, right? Is like they've both been in development for 10 years, and if they're not phenomenal games, they're going to be tremendous letdowns.
Hey, did y'all play Duke Nukem?
Exactly.
Okay, no.
Max-
Wait, okay, that's... Yes. I mean, that's mostly the same. But what I'm saying is, like... what I'm saying is Alana's right.
All right.
Good.
Thank you.
Counterpoint.
Anyway, so that's the end of the podcast. I think
Yeah.
we're all going to go.
Should we wrap this thing up?
I mean, we probably should. So, you know, final closing thoughts. The C3 was a really good one.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, this was a great E3.
We saw a lot of awesome stuff. You know, you two obviously going to Tokyo to see Final Fantasy have a huge amount of faith in it, and you know I do too. I'm skeptical because I feel like I should be with the history of that franchise.
I mean, you should
Not
be
even the
skeptical-
history,
you should
the
be slightly
recent
skeptical
history.
with everything.
Also true.
And
yes.
enter everything with tempered expectations.
So why don't we end this by saying, our individual game show. I've already mentioned that mine is Horizon Zero Dawn. Mm-hmm. Greg, I think yours is the same.
No, mine is Batman.
Yours
Arkham
is Batman
VR.
Arkham VR.
Yeah.
How about you, Zach?
Zelda.
Yours is Zelda?
Yeah.
Marty?
God of War.
I feel like that is a hugely awesome selection of games. How about you, Jonathan?
Arkham VR also.
Okay.
I flipped out.
We also still have Miranda here.
Great hire, everybody.
Yeah.
Miranda.
Zach, do you want to see how Miranda?
Miranda.
Oh, so best thing we saw?
Yeah.
What was the best thing?
Game show.
Legend of Zelda.
Zelda is great.
Also
Yeah.
Zelda.
Wild.
Callie?
But shout out to Night in the Woods.
Nice. Yes.
Absolute
That cat game.
shout out to Night in
That
the
cool
Woods.
cat game.
Yeah.
You do shout-outs. That's not right.
Well,
Callie.
my game of show is also Zelda, but I will give a shout out.
There's no shout-outs.
I have to give a
You're
shout
allowed
out
one.
to
Do what we want.
Who is Greg Miller?
Anime Club does what we want.
to this podcast.
Listen. Manifold Garden was a
Oh,
puzzle
that
game
looks awesome.
I played, and it's sort of this Portal-esque, like you manipulate the physics of the game, and that's my kind of secondary.
you heard about this?
It really impressed me.
She's just making up game
No,
titles.
this is coming to PS4. Colin's going to love it.
Callie, can I just ask
Draw
very...
Chat PC Tower. It's another great game I
Wait,
played.
shout-outs are both PlayStation games. Like, if I could even
Yeah.
shout out more, it's like
Yeah, this is a PlayStation game.
Gravity Rush 2 is like awesome and
Oh,
beautiful.
dude, yes.
Yeah.
So to just ask very, very quickly before we cut this off, how do you feel about Manifold Garden compared to Monument Valley? Similar? No? Marty's shaking his head very violently.
Absolutely not
Ask
so much.
me when I haven't had vodka on the rocks
Marty,
from Greg
do you have a
Miller.
comment
That's
on
what I
that?
gave you.
Yeah, I don't. Monument Valley to me is a perfect little thing.
That is the kind of game that I would happily show my mom.
Oh, yeah, I have showed my mom Monument Valley, the Go games, and Simogo's games like Device 6.
So Manifold Garden is a whole
not
other
quite-
thing?
I think it's too complicated. It has too many mechanics. Like, it's fine for everyone who's listening to the podcast, but not for Mama Sliva.
Yeah, okay. Well, look, I feel like this E3 was an awesome E3. We obviously already lost Kiss and Slater. She went to bed because it's like
Yes.
2 a.m.
But what is...
But she set
James
up our booth and it was
Faulkner,
rad.
What is your game of the show?
I learned how to do shipping labels for a company.
No, man. That's legit.
I don't get to play games. It's
You can ship stuff now?
Yeah.
Damn, dog.
I got to work with some union guys. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, no.
They make dirty jokes.
All right, I
Everyone
respect
listen
that.
to Rebel FM. James is on there.
Yeah, and I feel like we
every
should talk
week.
about how hard our video team worked and that they were people who didn't even get to go to E3 and were editing videos constantly, and that's awesome. We had such a great live stream the whole time during
Yeah,
E3.
it was
so
absolutely
that was
incredible.
rad.
Yeah. Aside from IGN, Greg,
Hey.
you guys
What's
busted
up?
E3.
Oh, yeah, whatever. Don't worry.
How was
about
it?
that. Everyone who goes to E3 does that. That's not
That's
a
a
big
good
deal. Shout out to everyone. If you have
All
a favorite
people.
video game journalist or whatever you call them, hit them up and say thank you for all the work they did.
No, and
Yeah.
from top to bottom, from IGN to someone trying to start a site by themselves or someone tweeting opinions of a game. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were talking about like E3 this year, kind of accommodating that. So it was an awesome year. We had awesome games, and it feels weird for me to say this, but thank you everyone for coming here right now. This has been a great podcast. We had a lot of different people with a lot of different opinions, and that's rad.
Yeah, this was a more controlled, less terrifying version of what happened
Yeah,
last
sorry
year.
to James and Zach
It's
for this.
obviously because the Fig didn't exist anymore. Yeah, we're going back to the Fig
we'll be
next
back
year.
to the Fig next year, so it'll be a
Of
giant
course.
mess.
Big shout out to Andrew Goldfarb and all his contributions to this podcast.
Yeah, he was very helpful tonight.
I think the true backbone of this podcast
Thank
was
you,
Andrew
Jonathan.
Goldfarb.
The new Andrew Goldfarb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've officially replaced
Thank
him.
you, Jonathan,
He
for not
is
abandoning
fired.
us like that rat.
Right, is this how we roll up? Does anyone have closing comments?
No, this is
No, all
wonderful.
right, bye, all right.
This is
It was
wonderful.
great.
Beyond.
Alanah, thank you so much. Beyond.
Yay, anime.